Welcome back to the Gurus. We are doing our second part of our three-part NBA preview series. Last week we did the Eastern Conference preview. Today we are doing the Western Conference, and next week we'll be doing awards predictions, finals chatter, and all that fun stuff. But if you didn't check out our Eastern Conference preview, make sure to watch that after you watch this video, of course. Mike, we went on about 2 hours on the East. It was a great time. I feel like the West is far more interesting. We were talking about that pre-show. I'm much more excited for this.
I'm much more excited about the West. I mean, we were kind of like grasping at straws doing our Eastern Conference. It's like, well, maybe they can win 40 games if things break their way. With the West, it's like these teams are all good. We're gonna make some really tough cuts. It feels like we're like cutting down to 53, and we're like, some of these teams aren't gonna make it. We like some of these teams. The West is just really good, so it's gonna make it all the more interesting.
And I don't know how you feel, but I feel much more definitive in my rationale for the West. I have much more straight line thinking of this is a clear over or under, whereas the East, we understood a lot of teams had to go over. That's just the nature of doing this. But we were like, we don't really want to take this team's over. We kind of were forced into it. At least here, I feel like it's much more natural in our process.
Yeah, and by the way, I only had one lock in the East because of that. It's like, I really just don't know. I don't really know. I have 3 locks in the West, so I just feel better about them. I obviously locked. Well, I mean, for people who haven't watched the video yet, I'm not going to tell you who I locked in the East. But yeah, I only had one lock in the Eastern Conference because I didn't feel good about the totals. I was like, maybe they can win 21 games if they stumble into a couple, you never know. So I didn't want to lock all the Eastern Conference ones because it's a crapshoot conference. This one, much more cut and dry.
Yeah, I had 3 locks in the East. I have a few today, but I'm excited for this. As I keep mentioning, the West is really where the meat is. We'll start with this. We'll go in order from the worst team to the best team, projection-wise, from their win-loss, as presented by ESPN Bet. They have the easiest projection model, so we will use that. We'll go in order from the tankers to the play-in teams to the firmly in crowd. I'll start by going over every team's starting lineup, and then we'll dive right in. So we'll start with the Utah Jazz, the lowest-ranked team in the West. 18.5 wins. Their starting lineup is Isaiah Collier, Ace Bailey, Lauri Markkanen, Georges Niang, and Walker Kessler. Of course, Ace being their premium draft pick. They also have Walter Clayton, who they were able to snag. Bryce Sensabaugh still there, as is Cody Williams. Kyle Filipowski. Yusuf Nurkic comes over. Kevin Love's still in the building. They haven't bought him out yet. Keontae George is also there as well. He's kind of buried at this point. Kyle Anderson's there. Svi Mikhailuk, Celtics champion. Taylor Hendricks. They have a lot of guys for a team that is obviously pretty bad.
Yeah.
How do you make sense of this team?
That's not a very good team, is what I make sense of. Some of these guys could be bought out by now. I mean, I know that they're doing this like young experiment thing. What are we on, year 3 or 4 of this young thing experience? Keontae George took a big step back last year as far as like shooting the basketball. They need some of these guys just need to shoot better. Isaiah Collier was a more steady hand, but again, not really a shooter at that position. So, I mean, I like the front court. We obviously love Lauri Markkanen. That goes without saying. We have a group chat named after him. Walker Kessler, there's another guy that's he's been in trade talks, but he's a nice centerpiece front court guy. But the backcourt is really where I mean, heck, even Bryce Sensabaugh had a nice year last year. But we don't know much about this backcourt for me to be like, what is this team? Is that they kind of got lucky with the Walter Clayton thing that helps their shooting. But this overall team makeup is just like they're kind of just hoping. They needed a Cooper flag, and it kind of sucks to say this, but Ace Bailey, I don't think that's the best consolation prize in the world. I know there's some Jason Tatum comps out there. I wasn't the biggest Ace Bailey guy in the pre-draft. I don't know how high you were on him. I just wasn't.
No, you knew I was very low on him. I was fortunate enough to see him in person. I watched him in Eugene. I just thought he was so skinny for his size. I thought players far smaller than him were just kind of bodying him, and that was really concerning to me. I didn't really hear a lot of people talk about that because I think there's this notion where you just grow into your size, but that's not always the case. Sometimes we just see these guys really can't put on the frame that you expect from a guy of Ace Bailey's stature. So that was concerning to me. And also the shot profile was just not where I wanted it to be. He was a guy that on any given night when you watched him at Rutgers, he was either making a lot of tough shots or missing badly on a lot of tough shots. But none of it looked particularly easy. And that's kind of my point. He was taking tough shots so much that it was like, okay, when's the easy stuff come along? Because I think when you're watching a scoring wing of this nature, you want to at least see they have spots in the court. You want to see at least they have their go-to setup moves where they're able to knock down from a certain range. It felt like Ace Bailey was improvising a lot, and as I
Right.
mentioned, taking just way too many tough shots. And he is a talented guy, so sometimes he'd be able to bail himself out, and he'd be able to score 20, 30 points in any given night. But far too often, it was the other realm. He was scoring 12 points on terrible efficiency. It looked bad. For me, I thought he was a guy that I would have liked late lottery, maybe even
Yeah.
post lottery. I thought he was being overdrafted because of what people thought of him coming into his Rutgers campaign. But look, Utah got him where they did. They think it's a value, so we'll see how it works out. But
Yeah.
as you mentioned, it's just too many young guys and not enough that I particularly like. I thought Isaiah Collier fell way too much in the draft, but he's kind of in no man's land on this team, given the car keys. It's one of
Yeah.
those things where you like that he has the volume as disposal, but at the same time, what is he doing with it? Like, it's just not a great situation for him. And I thought in Will Hardy's first year at the helm, this was nearly a playoff team until Laurie got hurt.
Right.
And obviously that team had more talent. Like Jordan Clarkson had a great year in that squad. But given this current situation, you really need a Keontae George to take that next step, even maybe two, as you mentioned. He was kind of disappointing last year. You need Cody Williams to show any signs of life. You need Walter Clayton or Ace Bailey to be impact players immediately. I just don't think really any of that's going to happen, Mike. So I have Utah with a very, very, very slight under. I initially thought this line was too low, but the more I looked at it and the more I looked at the rest of the conference, I just thought, I really don't know how they get above this number. If Laurie is an all NBA level talent and Walker Kessler is a DPOY level talent like they have been in the past, and you combine that with maybe some ace shot making or Cody Williams showing a pulse, perhaps they're able to get over this line. But I'm worried about the scoring. I'm worried about the high end talent. I just got to go under here.
I'm going under too, and to circle back to Ace Bailey, you can't survive in this league off of tough shots. It's just impossible to survive off of it. Yeah, so you have to show some case of, you have to showcase some ability to score easy. Easy buckets is what, you survive in this league off of. Obviously, tough shot makers are around the league, but you can't just have, and he's uber talented. Make no mistake about it. He's an uber talented player, but when all of it looks tough, it's like, and for a team that's going to be probably tanking, this is going to be kind of a disaster, but it's gonna be a fun watch. I mean, I'm interested to see how Ace Bailey plays, but the team's not gonna be very good, so it doesn't really matter. So yeah, it's a resounding under for me. I do like the nucleus though of Bryce Sensabaugh, Walker Kessler, Larry Markin, and if Ace Bailey pops, that's certainly a nice nucleus. But in the rest of the Western Conference, which is really good, we're gonna get to, I don't see how they get to this number. I really don't. So it's an under for me, a slight under, like you said.
I think with their owner Ryan Smith basically luring AJ DeBanza not only to Salt Lake City, but to BYU, I think that's the play. And if we're going to see a modern fixing of the NBA lottery, that's kind of where it's going to be. And DeBanza might be able to save the Jazz. But moving on to a team that doesn't know they're in the AJ DeBanza lottery, the New Orleans Pelicans, who have no idea what this team is supposed to be right now. They're starting five: Jordan Poole, Jeremiah Fears, Herb Jones, Zion Williamson, and Derek Queen. Jose Alvarado is still in town. Jordan Hawkins is coming off a campaign where he was hurt way too much, but looked pretty decent when he was in. Trey Murphy was spectacular. He's not even in their starting lineup right now. Kevon Looney comes over. Missy gets year 2 buzz. And that's kind of the rotation there. Jaden Springer is still hanging around, my guy. But New Orleans, of course, gave Atlanta their draft pick. So they have to win this year. That is a priority for them. They have to win, and they have to escape this tanking section and at least move up to that playing line if they don't want to lose a premium draft pick. And Mike, they're just not going to do it. This team's not good enough to do it. And I know you're a Pelicans guy, and you have been for a while, and I flirted with it for a second. But let's start here. This backcourt defensively is a disaster. It's Jordan Poole and Jeremiah Fears, both undersized guards from a stature standpoint. I don't know who they can defend. And then you're like, oh, the front court has to be better. No, it's not better because it's Zion Williamson, whose effort is spotty at best. And then it's Derek Queen, who is an incredibly undersized 5, who we both really liked in college. But the kind of knock on Queen was like,
defense.
Okay, if he's not Bam, then how is he going to survive as this 5 that isn't the best shooter, isn't super athletic? I think he projects as a 4 down the road. Maybe he puts on some muscle and increases his shot from beyond the arc. But defensively at those 4 positions, it's like, what is going on here? And then, of course, you have lockdown Herb Jones, but he can't defend 5 guys at once. And then you have Trey Murphy coming off the bench right now. I assume maybe they'll put him at the 2. Maybe they'll go Poole, Murphy, and Jones as their frontline 3. But even then, Murphy's not that great of a defender either. I guess he provides a better scoring floor. But it just seems to me that this team was built without actual foresight. They're acquiring a lot of talent. I like a lot of guys on this team. I liked Fears. I like Queen when he's healthy. In every sense of the word, I like Zion still. I think Hawkins has potential as an NBA player. I like these guys, but together this makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah, you're not a big Pelicans guy. I like the Pelicans. I'm sorry, they have to go over this number. This is.
You gotta convince me. You gotta convince me of what you like about this team.
Okay, again, I'm gonna get to it, but first of all, the number's 30.5. They don't.
It is low. That's undoubtedly low.
They don't have their first round pick. They have to go over this number. This is like.
But Mike, do the guys really care that they don't have their first round pick? I don't think that's a thing. Like the front office does. But do you think Zion's sitting there in February? He's like, oh, we got to go on a win streak here. We don't have a first round pick. I just don't think that's a reality of the situation.
Maybe not. Again, they bring in Jordan Poole. They bring in Kevon Looney. Those guys were former champions at Golden State. They know how to win games. So they can get to 31 wins. So those guys can help out. Jeremiah Fears and Derek Queen, those are 2 first round picks. Supposedly immediate impact guys. Again, McCollum's gone. Bruce Brown's gone. That doesn't really matter to me. To me, the nucleus of this team is Zion Williamson, who's 25 years old. Herb Jones, who's 27 years old, and Trey Murphy, who's 25 years old. That's the nucleus of this team right now, and then you add in 2 first-round picks to kind of buffer that. And again, I'm not going to be able to convince you because you're not a big fan of this guy anyways, but Zion to me is like a drug. I can't get enough of Zion. I'm gonna do it again. I'm falling for it again. He looks in great shape. Again, I know.
Oh my God.
I know. I'm doing this again, but Zion looks really, really good. Have you watched the preseason so far? I mean, I'm assuming we've dabbled in it.
I've dabbled. I hate preseason basketball. I think it's the fakest thing in the world. But
I understand that. But Zion's doing 360 dunks. He looks really good. I think he's gonna be very active defensively. You mentioned the effort.
Yeah, see how fake it is? Zion's doing 360 dunks and looks good. See how unreliable it is?
I understand. I think the effort will be there for Zion. I think that he will have. Again, they can't lose this year. They have no first round pick this year. They can't lose. So they still have Jose Alvarado off the bench. That's a nice defensive player. You know, we like Jordan Hawkins off the bench. These are nice players on this team. They're too good of a team. Yves Missi off the bench. They have front court depth here. I mean, they can't lose 52 games and go under this number. They can't. I know the West is good, but they think they're good. They think they're competing. I had them at 34 wins, so I had them actually kind of cruising over this number. So I think the Pelicans have to be trendy, play in, almost get there, maybe don't, but they can't be a 14th best team in the conference. There's no way they're going to have a year from hell like they did last year. There's no chance. They're literally trying to win. I think Zion. I'm going to bank on Zion staying healthy. Maybe that's a stupid bet on me. I don't know, but I'm going to say Zion stays healthy. I love Trey Murphy. I mean, this is an offensive hub last year. Trey Murphy was. I mean, he was the only reason why they didn't win 10 games. They were able to get, I believe, the 20 wins last year. So I gotta go over on the Pelicans. They can't go under this number when they have no reason to tank. I mean, I'm surprised you put them in the tanking tier. They can't tank. They don't have a pick. They have no first.
It wasn't me. That was the line that was set for them. That's all.
I know, but
I'm taking their under regardless, and you know this.
I knew that. Yeah,
I thought about locking it, but I'm not going to. Here's the problem with this team. They're 3 bad weeks away at the start of the season from selling half these guys and realizing that this was a disaster. Like they are so clearly going to be sellers of if Trey Murphy can't start. I can't believe on the initial depth chart he's not starting. I have to assume that's just wrong. Yeah,
he'll be
but in the case that he's just like this super 6 man, someone's going to look at that situation and be like, we need this guy on our team because he is that good, as we just talked about.
By the way, OKC can immediately move like 3 firsts for Trey Murphy if they wanted to.
I would do it. If I was Presti, I would do that. If I'm Stevens in Boston who needs some more talent on that team without Tatum, I would do that and kind of needs to reshuffle the deck. He's a guy that I think will draw a lot of attention, and even someone like a Zion. Eventually, someone might say, "Okay, it's not working in New Orleans. Let's try him here." Eventually, that's going to happen, and I know that people in New Orleans don't want that, but eventually, enough's enough. And even like a Jordan Hawkins, he's kind of like on the teetering end of the rotation here. Like he's not getting a ton of looks. Like I could see a team that needs shooting looking at a guy like that. So I think this is a disaster team. I think we could score on them.
Team. I just
don't know how they stop anyone with a pulse. And I don't think the offense is good enough to warrant being that bad defensively. Like we saw Jordan Poole last year. If he's going to be the table setter on this team, like thanks for coming. So I know you're going over. Yeah. I'm going under. I just can't with New Orleans. We'll see.
We'll see on that.
That'll be a team firmly in my league pass corner. Like they
Yeah.
will be on the quad box at least for the first
2
2
months,
weeks.
I am watching Pelicans games. The first 2
Yeah,
months.
I'm so intrigued by the team, but in a morbid curiosity way where I think they suck. Whereas this team at least knows they suck, and that's the Phoenix Suns, whose over underline is 31.5. Their starting five right now looks a lot different than last year. Devin Booker, Grayson Allen, those both guys are familiar faces, but here's where it gets weird. Dylan Brooks is at the 3, Mark Williams is at the 5, Ryan Dunn right now is supposed to be the 4 instead of Royce O'Neal. We'll see how that works. Malawach is the other center they brought in. And then the bench is unbelievable. It is Colin Gillespie. It's Jordan Goodwin. It's Jared Butler, who I like, but still. It's nice. Nick Richards. It is devoid of talent. Mike, I'm just going to do this immediately. This is a lock under for me. This is a lock under. I love Devin Booker with all my heart. He's one of my favorite basketball players on the planet.
Yeah.
This team stinks. This team is so bad. If they didn't have Devin Booker, this team would be arguably on par with the Nets, if not worse. That's how bad the talent is around Booker. I like Malawach and I like Mark Williams, but those are complementary pieces. Those are not guys that really, in the grand scheme of things, sway this over-under that much. Like, they just don't. Dylan Brooks is coming off a campaign where I thought he was super streaky. There's nights where I thought he was super invaluable to Houston, and there was other nights where I was like, this guy is actively harming this team. Grayson Allen took a step back after being the best shooter in the world the season prior. Ryan Dunn feels like a guy they're trying to make work, this defensive-minded swing forward.
They're trying to make him a 3-and-D. He's not really a great 3-point shooter, though.
Yeah, I'm not really into it. And then the bench. God forbid any of those guys get hurt. Outside of like Malawach could fill in for Mark, I guess, a little bit. But outside of that, it is so bad. Like, it's unbelievable. Like, I really hope we get to see some Colin Gillespie this year. He's a guy I enjoyed watching college basketball, but he's not a serious NBA player. This team is pitiful. Lock under.
We're going to disagree a lot on this episode, I think. I'm going over on Phoenix. I know. I'm over on Phoenix and I'm over on New Orleans. Again, I understand what you're saying. To me, this number is really low. I know the roster isn't great.
Is it just a Devin Booker thing for you?
Yeah, Devin Booker.
Okay, I mean, that's fine.
31. Again, to me, he's still one of the 10, 12 best players in the league. I know the numbers last year when Durant was off and Devin Booker was on was really, really poor. I mean, they really couldn't do anything without Durant last year. I get that, but I think bringing in Dylan Brooks and bringing in Jalen Green and bringing in both Charlotte centers and Nick Richards and Mark Williams and bringing in Malawach, I think they kind of revamped their weakness last year. They couldn't score inside. I mean, I believe Phoenix last year was they were outscored by over 8 points in the paint in the restricted area. 8.2 a game in the restricted area. That's the largest discrepancy in the NBA. So they couldn't score in the paint in the restricted area. They were getting basically housed every single game inside. I think now with lob threats in Malawach. I mean, we like Malawach as a roller. Mark Williams, same thing. They're going to get production out of that position. I mean, they have at least depth there now with him, Malawach, and Nick Richards. So they at least have guys as far as depth goes in the front court. And then in the back court, I mean, again, we're looking at, can Jalen Green not be, an absolute detriment to the squad? I mean, that's what we're banking on here. I don't really know how he'll mesh with Devin Booker. And it seems like it's going to be a lot of Devin Booker at point guard, which we've seen in the past, and it's not bad, certainly. I mean, he can set guys up, but
it depends on the night. It really does.
Yeah, but I've seen Devin Booker at the point, and he's looked good at times for sure. So I'm kind of just banking on Devin Booker here, and I like the roster a little bit. I mean, I think I like them pivoting off. Now you don't have Bradley Beal anymore, so that immediately that's out of the room, and it was kind of like this dark cloud looming over the Phoenix Suns, which was
Mike. I have a question for you. So Devin Booker can't score 60 a night, okay?
No, I know I can't.
Name me the second leading scorer on this team with a straight face. Go.
With a straight face. I mean, I'm hoping Jalen Green gets his act together, and we see some nice. Again, maybe Dylan Brooks is unlocked. We're kind of grasping at straws here as far as the offense goes. I get that, but again, I think that Jordan Ott, new head coach. I like Jordan Ott a little bit. I don't know. I think that they got some trendy, nice pieces here. Again, I'm trusting Devin Booker mostly is what this is. Again, they brought in all my guys at center. I love, how much I love Mark Williams. I love Man, which is Kaman Malawach. I think they're going to play well with Devin Booker in that pick and roll. I think they can score more points efficiently. You can't make up the Durant absence, obviously, offensively. And, Bradley Beal's no longer here. That's just probably a good thing. But I think ultimately the line is just too low. It's a cop-out answer. I think the line is just too low. I think that I have to get them to 33 wins somehow. Not even 33. They can get to 32 wins to go over. But they can't lose more than 50 games with Devin Booker on their team. If he plays, I'm assuming he plays at least 80 games. If he does, are they going to lose 52 games and go under this number? I can't see it.
I kind of think so, because I just think the scoring around him is bad. I forgot to mention Green off the bat because he is hurt right now. He's supposed to miss a little time with a hamstring injury.
Sure.
And he's a guy that's been kind of dealing with injuries his entire career, particularly to his legs, the hamstrings, etc.
Yeah.
So it's not like I really trust him either. At least he's a talented guy, I guess. So at least it's not as grim. But
first of all, no, real quick, he's a little slighted that Houston moved off of him, and not Jabari Smith and not Tari Eason, none of those guys. They moved off of him.
Oh, okay. Revenge factor.
Yes, but there's some revenge factor here. And plus, Ime Udoka was not playing him in closing time in the playoffs. They were like, who's my 5 best guys? Jalen Green, you're not one of the 5 guys I trust. And was he wrong? Absolutely not. But Jalen Green probably is slighted by that. And Jalen Green's out to prove something this year. So I don't have much stock in Jalen Green, but I think this number's really low. And there's talented guys on the roster. I mean, we can't act like there's not talented players on the roster. It's not, the big 3 Suns of last year, if you wanted to call it that. But there's some guys here. I mean, Royce O'Neal, 3-and-D guy. We like Royce. There's some guys here I like that they can't lose 52 games. I'm sorry, I can't do it.
Okay.
You're locking the under. You're locking the
yeah.
We're
I'm locking the under. I mean, we'll see. This is a team that I don't think will make much of the league pass. I'm just so out on them. Like maybe their league pass ranking is rather low for me. Here's a team that I haven't been able to watch much the last few years because of blackout restrictions, but I'm excited to watch this version of the team, the Portland Trailblazers. They're starting 5. Drew Holiday comes in. Tamani Kamara is at the 2. Denny Avdia is at the 3. Jeremy Grant's still around at the 4. And they're going to give Donovan Clingan the keys at the 5 after moving off Dominating. Dame's obviously out for the year, but Scoot is also hurt. That's a big blow to one of their young pieces if you subscribe to that. Off the bench, they have Shaedon Sharpe. Matisse Thybulle is still in the NBA, guys. Do not forget about him.
Yeah,
He's still around. The way less intriguing Murray Chris. Yang Hansen / Hansen Yang. Who knows what his actual name is, but he's in town. And then the Time Lord is allegedly healthy. So we'll see how that goes. But, Mike, this is a team that I look at. I like their starting lineup a lot. The depth is questionable. This is a team, really, if they deal with any injury at any position, I like them less. Because if you lose Drew, then you lose a table setter. And then who's playing point guard? Because Scoot's out for a while. Obviously, Dame's not in town. So who does anything there? I guess if you lose Kamara, Thybulle is a decent enough replacement. But again, the scoring, you'd lack quite a bit there. Same with Avdia. And then Jeremy Grant, you don't really have a replacement for it as that kind of like 20 points a night. So this is a team that I think really has to rely on their starting 5 because their depth doesn't necessarily align with what their starters do. If everyone's healthy, I think it works really well. But again, this is a team that I look at. Drew's had injury problems recently. Denny has sneakily been one of those guys that is questionable on a lot of nights. Jeremy Grant's been fine. Clingan just hasn't been good, to be honest.
Really?
And then his backup, Robert Williams, obviously you can't trust that guy whatsoever.
I don't know. We're going to disagree again. By the way, this is 3 in a row I think we're going to disagree on.
I'm going to take their over.
Okay.
I think it's a slight over because I think this line is too low for their team. I'm just worried with how reliant they are on a few guys. I think they're incredibly reliant on Drew and on Denny. And I think when you're reliant on 2 guys of that nature, one of which is a serious injury concern, that's when I'm like, okay, what is going to happen if Drew misses a few weeks? Are you going to really tank instead of just tread water and keep that line? So I'm going to lean slight over. I think they have just too many pieces. I really like Yang Hansen. I wouldn't be shocked if he's the starting center halfway through the season. I think Clingan, another guy I watched in person a few times, really disappointing. Like, just didn't really know where to be on the court. It looked like how he did freshman year at UConn, where I've watched Clingan like 5 or 6 times in person. I've been fortunate enough to see him a decent amount. And I remember the first time I saw him, I'm like, this guy has clear talent, but he has no idea what he's doing. And when I went to Portland last year and was just watching his defensive stuff, possession in, possession out, it felt really similar. So again, hopefully he's able to kind of develop like he did in college and understand the spots on the floor. But the Celtics were just toying with him, and that's a high-end NBA team, and that's not every matchup. But in
Sure.
this kind of West that is that loaded, I am worried if he's going to be kind of the starting five with heavy minutes. He really needs to take a step in the right direction. I really liked Klingon coming out of UConn. I just really need to see more. Again, slight over. There are just question marks with this team that I think not enough people are really talking about.
So I didn't think I was going to do this. I'm locking the over. I did not think I was
Wow.
until I really looked at the team.
Wow.
I know.
Okay.
When I first saw Portland, I was like, okay, the number sounds right. And then I looked at the team a little bit more. I'm like, wait a second, I'm locking this over. They're winning more than 33 games. That's going to happen.
Yeah.
We're a little different here. I think that Klingon was, first of all, if you don't like the way Klingon played defensively last year, then what is dominating? Because they were.
Oh, he's the drizzling you know what. So I'm not going to disagree
so
there.
much bad. Again, teams in the paint last year shot so much worse when Klingon was in the game compared to dominating in the game. By the way, Portland paid dominating to go away. So that tells you all you need to know about whether how much they like Klingon or maybe how much they hate dominating. But either way, they paid him to go away. So they obviously like Klingon to step into that role. Again, or they just hate Ayton. Either way. But I like Drew Holiday coming in here. I think they can do some really fun things defensively. Like this roster defensively is really good. I mean, you got Drew Holiday, you got Tamani Kamara, you got obviously Klingon. If he's the shot blocker we saw in college, then you got some real front court stuff there.
Right.
Shaden Sharp is fun. Obviously, Matisse Thybulle still in the league, good defender. So there's some good defensive players in this team. Like obviously, if Scoot Henderson or Shaden Sharp takes a big jump, I think they cruise over this number. Like right now, Scoot's injured, but him and Sharp and those guys aren't even projected starters in this team. I believe when Scoot's healthy, he probably will be slided in that starting spot. Kamara, obviously, you can do whatever you want with him. Danny Avdia, we love Danny Avdia. I mean, he's a nice player. He had really nice moments last year. So I like this roster too much to go under here. And also you got Dame Lillard for sideline support. They have veterans in the room. So, again, this is not. I know he's not playing this year. He's out for the whole year. But
they've Duop Reith. How did we forget?
Duop Reith. How did we forget him? These are all like fun defensive pieces. I'm sorry. I like too many of these guys. You don't like the depth behind Donovan Klingon. I think that Yang Hansen can easily step in and give them some nice minutes. I think Time Lord is a nice depth piece, and you're not big on Time Lord. I think that when he's healthy, he's
so
nice
hurt. And I really like Yang, but I'm worried then the interior defense is Jeremy Grant and Yang. That's where you kind of lose me a little bit. I think this team has a lot of fun pieces, and I think they're clearly trying to build a culture there, but I don't think they're ready yet to be on like that play-in territory. I think they're just trying to win like, let's call it 37 games this year. And then next year is really the year where they start to shuffle the deck a little bit. I think this is the year before the year for Portland.
So you don't like the front court of Donovan Klingon, Jeremy Grant, and then behind them being Robert Williams and Hanson Yang. So I mean, that's
my problem is Klingon. Like I said, I just don't think he was really good defensively last year. I think some of the numbers support it because of what it was opposite to Ayton. I think that's kind of what that was.
Sure.
And Grant's kind of an iffy defender. I think people move him a decent amount. And then Robert Williams, I like if he's healthy. The guy's never healthy. You just can't trust a guy like that. I really like him when he's healthy. I think he's actually a very impactful player. Just you can't rely on him whatsoever.
Sure. But
and then Yang, I got to see defensively in an NBA core. I just do.
Yeah, so. Okay. We'll hold off on Hanson Yang, but who is healthy right now? Drew Holiday, and I think Drew Holiday they can do some really fun 3-guard stuff with him and Shaden Sharp and Scoot Henderson. Like he can kind of take those guys under his wings in a way. And teach them the roles as far as a defender goes. I mean, you're not going to get a better mentor as far as a guard defender than Drew Holiday is. I mean, I think we both agree on that. So obviously, we still have some Scoot Henderson stock. That's pretty nice to have a guy like to have a guy like Drew Holiday already there to kind of help mentor. And again, we have Dame there as well as sideline support. So I just like this team too much. And the next team we're going to talk about, I'm going to go way under on them. So I'm going to have to go over on Portland. I'm 3 overs in a row now, but I like Portland a lot. I like the roster. I'm sorry, I can't believe I'm doing this. I hated Portland 2 years ago. I said, what are they doing? I kind of like. And by the way, a big thing for me is last 30 games. I think there is some kind of carryover a little bit. Sometimes there isn't, but I think last 30 games is a little bit of a tell. And Portland was really good last 30 games. They had a really nice end of the season. I think I like their trajectory more than some of the other teams we're going to talk about here coming up. So I'm going to go Portland lock over 33.5. They're going to win at least 34 games.
Yeah, I think this is tough for me to admit, but Shaden Sharp is younger than me. So I think he still has time to develop. I liked what I've seen from him at points. I think him and Simons are a bit redundant without Simons there. I'd like to see what he looks like, especially on a more serious team. So he's a guy I'm looking forward to.
By the way,
tipped his hand. Oh, yeah, sorry, keep going.
Yeah, Tamani Kamara, another really good defensive player. I don't think I mentioned him either. Or maybe we did mention him. I think you mentioned him. But
yeah, I did. I like him a lot. I think he's really impactful on the perimeter. Him and Denny, I think, are a good core in the middle. And then
so they have guys that can, right, 100%. Yeah. So and you have Drew in there. So they have good defensive players. I think they're too good defensively to, I mean, again, you mentioned the scoring lack of scoring for Phoenix, lack of scoring for some other teams. I think that they're going to be able to stop teams from scoring. So I like Portland. If Klingon can get back to that second year at UConn, dominant shot blocker, rim protector kind of guy, if he can be that, I think Portland's really fun defensively.
I'm excited for this team now because Mike, as I mentioned, tipped his hand a little bit on them. The Sacramento Kings, their starting five is something. It's FIBA Dennis at the 1, Zach LaVine at the 2, Malik Monk at the 3, DeMar DeRozan at the 4, and Domantas Sabonis at the 5 off the bench. They just signed Russell Westbrook today after months of kind of teasing each other. They finally get it done right before the season. Then there's Keon Ellis. Neat Clifford comes into the situation. Dario Saric, Drew Eubanks, and then Devin Carter, who didn't have much of a rookie season, is still around, as is Doug McDermott.
Isaac
Keegan
Jones
Murray is hurt, by the way. Isaac Jones is still there. Keegan Murray's hurt. He's going to miss some time. Yeah. So that's a big loss for them. Where to begin? So here's where I want to at least try to start. I think this is another team. I like some of the guys. I think no one is better than Dennis Schroeder in an unserious situation. When you think a team is bad and they have Dennis Schroeder, they are always better than you think. Every single time. It is without fail. Because we kind of started this name years and years ago, and now it's mainstream, so no one's going to believe that we started calling him this. But FIBA Dennis Schroeder, is a different player when he puts on that Germany jersey. And people will say, oh, it's playing for country. No, what it actually is he has the car keys. And when he has the car keys, he's infinitely better. He's more engaged. There's a clear on switch with Dennis where if he is the primary guard, for better or worse, he is locked in the entire game. He's a pest defensively. That's not saying he's good defensively. He's just saying he's a pest. He's annoying. Like, he'll pick guys up full court for no reason sometimes. And then he's a decent table setter, and he can really just score the ball. And again, on serious teams, that really works. It worked in Brooklyn. I don't think it necessarily worked as much as Detroit wanted, but even then you saw some games where he was able to pop for them. So that's what I like immediately off the bat. I like Dennis on this team because, again, they're over 34.5. I like Dennis on bad situations. I don't care what the situation is. I just think he plays better in bad situations. We've seen him on serious teams. It doesn't work. If he's not the guy, or if he's not a guy, it just doesn't really work the same. If he's on a bad team, he's immediately a way more impactful player. It just is what it is. Here's what I don't like. Who's guarding anyone? Who's guarding us? Again, this is another who's guarding us team because your first 4 guys that I mentioned with Keegan out is Dennis, Zach, Malik Monk, and DeMar DeRozan.
This is so bad.
Who's stopping anything? And then your center is Domantas Sabonis. So you lack size all across the board. You lack any sort of defensive intensity. And look, scoring-wise, I really like this team. I think Dennis can put it in the basket. I think Zach obviously can. Malik Monk's a flamethrower. DeMar still has some scoring prowess, at least from the mid-range at this point in his career. And I think Sabonis is impactful around the rim. But this team's not athletic enough to run in transition outside of like LaVine and Monk. And it's just, what does the half court look like? This is a lot of guys where they're best when the ball is in their hands. Dennis is the best when he's not a pass first point guard. When he can just kind of put his head down and do his thing. That's when he works. He's not going to want to set up for Zach LaVine and Malik Monk. And then Westbrook comes in, and we know how he is off the bench. I was tempted to go over because I think they just have too many guys. But at the same time, I mentioned it with New Orleans. If the guys don't make sense, the guys don't make sense. I feel like I'm going to regret this. I feel like they're going to somehow get like 35 wins. I'm going to be so annoyed that they get the slight over. Because, again, they just have too many guys compared to the rest of the bottom of this West. But I just can't. I can't stomach the over, so I'm going to have to lean under.
Did this number change since they got Russ, or do we not know? Did the number change at all, or still 34?
I can't imagine it changed.
I don't think it changed.
Maybe a win, but I can't imagine in any serious way it changed. No.
Yeah, it's an under for me anyways. By the way, I'm wearing this Bulls jersey today because I knew we'd be talking about the Sacramento Kings today. In honor of the Bulls. They are the Western Conference Chicago Bulls. And they're still running back the big 3 of DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, and not Vucevic, but Sabonis. So it's a little bit better of a big 3.
Close enough, yeah.
Close enough. I hate this team. They added FIBA Dennis. You mentioned you like FIBA Dennis on this team. I don't like him for 3 years, $45 million. That contract
No,
was only
no, not that. That contract was abysmal.
it
I
wasn't
think we
really.
all rolled our eyes as soon as we saw that figure.
Yeah, I rolled my eyes at that contract. They added Russ like an hour ago. That's cool. You mentioned that everyone on this team wants to have the ball in their hands, and we know Russ comes in, does his thing. By the way, someone has to set up DeMar DeRozan too. It's like, yeah, oh yeah, by the way, DeMar DeRozan, he has to also get his post touches where we watch him do his thing for 12 seconds of the shot clock. So you stole my notes right here. I had said they're a terrible defensive team. Terrible. They're not good at all. They gave up 120 points per 100 possessions last year. Is that good? Is that good at all? I mean, they're not stopping anybody last year. And by the way, Keegan Murray, you already mentioned it, out at least a month with a UCL tear that's in his thumb. So
definitely sounds like it'll be longer.
It probably will be longer. They're saying they're going to reevaluate him in 6 weeks, so it could be longer than that probably. And the problem is they don't have the front court depth behind. Like they can't really afford to lose Keegan Murray. I know you're not even the biggest Keegan Murray guy, but who is behind Keegan Murray? I mean, right now you said DeMar DeRozan's playing the 4. He's not even really a 4. So who are the forwards behind Keegan Murray? Obviously, they trade Valanciunas away to Denver. Our Nuggets got Valanciunas. They got Dario Saric back, who looked unplayable last year for Denver. I mean,
I think you're going to see a lot more Devin Carter this year.
Yeah,
Keon Ellis, who is kind of the martyr of Kings fans. Like you might see more of him.
Yeah, might see more Keon Ellis. I don't really like the depth of this team. I do like Nick Clifford. Some of their draft pieces I kind of did like, but this team doesn't make any sense together. It's very reminiscent of the Chicago Bulls, where I was like, this team they're a trade team. Like they're going to move some of these guys because they don't make any sense together. I mean, we literally saw Zach LaVine and DeMar DeRozan. We saw the ceiling of that team of what those guys what together will do. Sacramento's running back this like very weird, dysfunctional team, terrible defensive team. The running back. I don't know who they stop in the Western Conference. Like I genuinely do not know who they stop. Contrary to Portland, who I actually like some of their defensive pieces, I don't like any of these guys on this team together. I like them separately. I like FIBA Dennis with the ball in his hands, but I also know that he's on a team where DeMar DeRozan has to have the ball in his hands. I know that Zach LaVine has to have the ball in his hands. Malik Monk is a flamethrower. When he gets in the game, when he checks in, the ball's going to be in his hands. So it's just like too many guys. Oh yeah, by the way, they have Sabonis, who also is like a 20, 10, and 11 guy. So he's going to have to get some touches as well. It's just too many mouths to feed, and the defense is too terrible in the Western Conference. I had them going 32-50, which means they're under this 34.5. Could they get to 35 wins? Could they scrape it out and it might be a gross over? Yeah, possibly. But to me, I don't even know if Dennis will be it. Are we sure Dennis isn't a guy they flip the deadline? Like, I don't know why.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I think you never know with Vivek, their owner. You can never read what that guy's thinking. But this feels like a team that the teardown is coming. But it seems like all the moves they made were to avoid that happening. Yeah. So that's kind of why this makes absolutely no sense. Like, I think it'd be really wise if they were to maximize profits for a guy like LaVine. If he's averaging like 25 points, if you just kind of inflate his stats because you don't play defense on this team, you're just kind of scoring in transition, you're just a bucket getter, and you're like, hey, look, Zach LaVine averaging an efficient 25 points, and you're able to flip him for maybe a young guy in a first-round pick, and you do that with LaVine, with Monk, you get at least a protected first for Dennis, I guess, something like that. You get maybe a few things for Domantas Sabonis, and you kind of just have a treasure trove of picks and young guys, and you kind of just start over. The problem is they don't really have a marquee young guy on the team right now. I like Devin, obviously, but it's like you're not going to build the team around that guy. And Keon Ellis, as much as the Kings diehards like him,
Kings love him. Yeah,
he's a good player. He's not a guy you kind of tear down the team for. So unless they're able to acquire a guy, which I don't think they have the talent necessarily to do that, it might just be a few years more of misery. You're going to have to tear it down. You're going to have to get some lottery luck, and then you're going to have to go from there.
Yeah, the way that the roster moves that they made signal that we're going for the 10 seed. We are trying to get that 10 seed, which is like, why do we care about that? Like, as a fan base, if I was a Kings fan,
I don't know.
Like the moves that they're making, bringing in FIBA Dennis, bringing in Russell Westbrook, they're going for this 10 seed in the Western Conference, which is so coveted. No, it isn't. No one cares about the damn 10 seed in the Western Conference. Tear this thing down. I don't know if they can. I don't know if they have the valuable pieces to tear it down, but this is like a long overdue. It's very Chicago Bulls where we're all like, guys, just trade everybody, please. Like, just restart this thing. You're not getting out of the play-in. Just forget about it. The Kings are not getting out of the play-in. So what is the point of shooting for the 10 seed in the Western Conference? There's literally 10 teams better than them in the West. So I don't know what we're doing here. To me, this is a slow, painful death for Sacramento fans because they know the inevitable is coming, which is another teardown. I'm going under 34.5. I just hate this team.
Is this a playoff team in the East?
Sacramento? Maybe, yeah, maybe it is. It's unfortunate they're in the West.
I was just thinking about that because we were going through this, right? And to my head, because we kept talking about how this is the most loaded West, and I do think it is. But in my head, I was like, oh, these are kind of like normal bad teams. But the East is so devoid of talent across the board that even though these are kind of normal bad teams, in comparison, in where the league is right now, it's jarring that I think Sacramento would be a playoff team in the East, because that's what I was thinking about talking about this whole thing. I was like, I think they could slightly go over, but to me this is this is a perfect line. But I was thinking about it, and I was like, this team's not that terrible if you look at the rest of the East. It's like not that bad.
Well, we just mentioned the Chicago Bulls. They're a little bit better than Chicago Bulls. They have a Walmart
easily,
version.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's the same big three besides Vucevic, who is a cone, and then they have Sabonis, who's also a cone, but like an awesome offensive player. So it's basically a little bit better version of the Chicago Bulls, who were a consistent play-in team in the East. I think they're a little bit better than
they like their depth a little more. Yeah,
I like their depth a little bit more than the Bulls for sure. And then I think that Sacramento probably is like a little bit better than those Atlanta teams that were like sneaky 8-9 seeds. So I think they probably are I think they're still a play-in team though. I'm not sure they're like a top 6 East team. I'm not going to stamp them as a top 6 East team. Now this year with the East, with Indiana being down and Boston being down, maybe. But no, I don't even like this team this year to say that they would be a top 6 team in the East. I think they're probably a playoff team in the East though.
Let's move on to the play-in line right now. So this is the 10th team in the West. It is the Memphis Grizzlies, line set at 40.5. Okay. Their starting 5 is John Morant, KCP, Jalen Wells, Santi Aldama, and because Triple J is set to miss a decent amount of time, it is Jock Landale at the 5. As far as depth is concerned, they were able to lure Ty Jerome in, who I think all of us thought would get a bit of a better deal. Kind of surprised that he is only making $8 million this year. Scottie Pippen Jr. comes back, as does Vince Williams. DG Jackson is healthy to start this year. Cam Spencer got a lot of run for Memphis at the end of last year, as did John Conchar. So that's kind of who they're running with. But no Jaren Jackson, no Zach Edey, no Brandon Clark to start.
Right now.
Not good, Mike. Yeah, to start. Not good.
Yeah. It's not good. This is a really tough one for me. They bring in KCP. They bring in Ty Jerome. They bring in Cedric Coward, who I liked in round 1. They are having to replace Desmond Bane and Luke Kennard, our guys, and Jay Huff, who is now in Indiana. Ultimately, the Grizzlies' story last year was they couldn't beat good teams. They literally were devoid. Their wins last year were all against bad teams. I don't think they beat a single team with a winning record after January. I mean,
I was going to say it evolved later in the season. They were kind of playing regular basketball for a few months, and then all of a sudden, this kind of weird trend started happening, and everyone started realizing it. And that's when, obviously, Taylor Jenkins gets canned. That's when it feels like it felt like all of a sudden the team was aware of it in a weird way. And then things started to go sideways within the team. So it was a really weird season. And this year, Mike, I just pulled it up just to give clarity here. So Jaren Jackson is going to play in about 6 weeks. So it's going to be at least a month until we see him on the screen, presumably. Zach Edey, 6 to 9 weeks. Because of the nature of his injury, I think it's going to be a little bit on the latter side of that. And then Brandon Clark, we don't really know with him. He's one of the most injured guys in the league. He's supposed to be reevaluated in 6 weeks. It's presumed he's going to miss at least like 2 or 3 months at best case scenario. So I think we can just chalk him out. But for sake of doing this, about a month and a half without Edey, about a month without Jaren Jackson, and that is like best case scenario.
Yeah. Okay. Well, then that changes my opinion. Then that is not what I wanted to hear from a Grizzlies standpoint, because I had the numbers right here. When Ja and Jaren Jackson are on the floor together, they are pretty good. I mean, they outscore people a lot. They didn't play a ton last year. Their starting lineup was very. Their starting lineup in general only played 222 total minutes together. So it wasn't like they had a core 5 for a healthy amount of time. I mean, I mentioned the over 500 thing. They were 36-9 against teams under 500. They were just 12-25 against good teams, winning teams. So they obviously could beat the good teams last year. They're trying to play faster now. I don't know that. It's just weird. I don't know if they really have the guys to do that. Obviously, we know Ja's a 100-mile-an-hour kind of guy, but I don't know about this roster. I do
outside of that, no. Like Triple J can run when he's healthy, and I think Wells is a pretty awesome athlete. But KCP, no. Really. Santi Aldama, no. Ty Jerome at least can do it as a backup. Scottie Pippen. Some of the backup guys like DG Jackson can run around, but it's going to be one of those weird things. How they even blend this roster.
I don't know, but I mean, look, we saw Ty Jerome and Scottie Pippen Jr. last year. They both had nice moments in round 1. Ty Jerome kind of fell off a cliff in round 2, but he had a really nice moment. He had a really nice series against the Heat. And Scottie Pippen Jr., when Ja went out, I was like, hey, Scottie Pippen Jr.'s, he's making some things happen against the Thunder. They were losing those games, but I mean, hey, they showed some guys off the bench that they had. Like Memphis has some depth. They did lose some of the depth, but Like, we like Luke Kennard. They obviously lose him. But ultimately, I don't know if they're like, I think they're right at this number. It's, what is it, 40.5? I mean, they have 41 and 41 team. I don't know. It's a really tough line for me. I think you saying that Jaren's missing at least a month and Brandon Clark missing at least 2 months, and then
Yeah, presumably. So that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
He's supposed to miss 4 to 6 weeks. So it's anywhere from him missing like 2 to 3 weeks. So it could be not that big of a deal. It could be a decently important deal if he, gets sidetracked here, if there's some issues with his recovery. So it's one of those things where that impacts the line so much, and we just don't know.
My worry is I don't think there's as many bad teams in the West as there was last year. I mean, we mentioned, I think Utah's the only bad. I know you hate New Orleans, but I mean, I think Utah's really the only bad team in the Western Conference. New Orleans was terrible.
Yeah, like year. Offensively bad. Yeah,
offensively bad. Like, New Orleans was offensively bad last year because they had the season from hell. I don't think they're going to be offensively bad this year. I think they're going over the number. Phoenix, I don't think they're offensively bad. I think that, maybe
they're close.
Maybe they'll find out they're bad. But I think right now, I still like the pieces on the roster. Sacramento, they have nice players, I guess. So I don't think the West is like offensively terrible, where you can just kind of pluck off those easy tanking teams that are just like throwing the towel in like a month in the season. So I don't think Memphis can kind of, vulture off of those bad teams like they did last year. So because of that, I'm going to have to probably change I came in here with an over bet. I think I'm going to have to go under on Memphis now. I don't know. I don't love it.
By sure, I have to take an over. I have to take their over because I didn't want to do it with Sacramento. That could change. We'll see at the end of this pod because one of those has to be an over for me. One of them has to be an under. I don't really like this team that much. And I think, look, there's always this thing in Memphis circles where they say when Ja and Jaren play, this is a winning basketball team in a pretty definitive way. They're well above 500 when those guys play.
Yeah.
That was also with a lot of Desmond Bane in there, and he's gone. Yeah. And you're replacing Desmond Bane with all intensive purposes a healthy G.G. Jackson. And I just don't like that trade-off.
And KCP.
And KCP's there as well. He'll be the guy probably starting some early games for them, but they're going to need G.G. scoring because outside of Ja, I like Santi a decent amount, but again, another team. Where's the scoring coming from, especially with Jaren out? Who's going to be the number 2 scorer? It's going to have to be G.G. or Santi. I just don't really like that. So I'll probably flip-flop Sacramento and Memphis when we're done with this. But right now, I'm going to take the Grizzlies over. I'm going to take the Kings under, and we'll go from there. Because those two teams, one of them is going to have to win like 38 games. And the other is going to win...
Well, they could both win 38 games. They could do it.
No, I don't think so. I think they're too redundant to me. Like, I think Portland's going to play above their total there. I think Portland's closer to that 38, 39, maybe even sneaking out to like a 500 team. I think one of those teams will slot where Portland is and kind of just be significantly worse than projected right now. Because I know Portland and Sacramento's line's only different by 1, but I truly think like the bottom could fall out of one of those teams, particularly Memphis. I think their floor is scarily low, especially if Ja misses time like he does every year. He's another guy. If blank misses time, team's terrible, and it's kind of annoying to think about it that way. But when these guys are hurt every year,
they're really bad.
How can you think about it any other way?
No, when Ja's not playing, they're really bad. I mean, I think they could. I might regret going on. Honestly, I might regret going under here because I think they could easily get to 41 and 41. Like, I think if Ja is healthy, they're probably a 500 team or better. But yeah, if he's out and you're saying Jaren's already out for at least a month, probably, or at least 2 to 3 weeks, then the bottom could fall out. There's probably the safe bet is to go under here, but I don't know. I think they're still a good defensive team. They're still good enough defensively to where I think they could be a 500 team in the West if Ja and Jaren play a majority of the games. It's just, this is a really tough one for me. This is like the Eastern.
When we do the recap, we'll touch upon it and we'll see if we change anything there.
Yeah.
Because I do want to get to a team we're both incredibly bullish on. The Dallas Mavericks. I can't believe we're here. I cannot believe
How did we get here? How did we get here? Yeah.
Last year, I will never forget the day. I went to an Oregon hockey game. On the walk home, Theo, a good friend of ours who will be on the program in the next few weeks doing college basketball preview, I was with him. We both went to the bathroom, and at the same time, we just screamed expletives that I cannot repeat on this program.
Luka Doncic.
It was unbelievable seeing on my phone that Luka Doncic was traded and then seeing the package he was traded for. And I thought we would never have to take Dallas seriously again. And then what happens? They get Cooper Flag.
And
then all of this changes. Mm-hmm. And we have this team where the starting 5 right now, because Kyrie is going to miss a significant amount of time, is D'Angelo Russell, Klay Thompson, Cooper Flag, Anthony Davis, and Derek Lively. The depth is interesting. It's Caleb Martin, it's Najee Marshall, it's PJ Washington, it's Daniel Gafford. My least favorite player on the entire planet, Dwight Powell, is still on this team somehow, in some way.
He's kind of
Max
shoved
Christie,
down there.
yeah, he's way down. Max Christie played some big minutes for them at the end of last year. He's still there, and Dante Exum as well, and Delano Banton, if you're into him. So this is a team that I think is probably the trendy lock over pick. And I'm thinking about it, but I want to offer you this, okay? I just want to be devil's advocate here because I think we're both going to just praise this team for a minute.
Yeah.
I don't think enough people are thinking about this, okay? You have Anthony Davis. He's going to be the centerpiece of this team. Talk about another injury guy, but for the sake of this, let's just pretend he's super healthy, okay? Let's say Davis is healthy. He's going to be the focal point. Obviously, this team's going to be a defensive force, at least in the front court, with Flagg, Davis, and Lively, okay? Here's the problem. Scoring, and we're really going to hone in on this for a second. Mm-hmm. I don't think enough people are talking about how bad this team could be during stretches at scoring. This has not been talked about at all. Let's look at the starting five. D'Angelo Russell is the most feast or famine player in the NBA. There are times where you're like, oh, he's pretty good. And then there's other times where you just want him off your team in about 3 seconds. And he's going to be the starting point guard on this team. So that's already a concern for me.
Well,
and we'll get to maybe why he's not that in a few minutes. But let's just start there.
Sure.
Klay Thompson is washed. I like Klay Thompson quite a bit. He's one of my favorite players in NBA history. I have multiple of his jerseys. He's washed. End of story. That's it. Cooper Flagg, at points at Duke, was really, really good as an offensive hub. And there was times where he looked like he was going to have a panic attack the second there were more than one guy looking at him with the ball in his hands. And especially, I think of when teams put a lot of pressure on him, he would fold a lot. And I love Cooper Flagg. I think he's a generational prospect. But I think this idea that he's going to come in and dominate, I just want to push back on maybe a little bit. Just a soft push. I think there could be some growing pains with him. And then you look at the bench. PJ, another streaky shooter, really depends on the night with him. Najee, not really his game. Caleb Martin, if he's playing the Celtics, maybe. But outside of that, I don't know. And then Gafford's not really a scorer. Neither Max Christie, he's got some ability, but he really hasn't, popped as an NBA player. So I just want to give you that because I think everyone's so bullish on this team and really thinks highly of what this team could be. But I think there's not enough thought of here's the detrimental part of this team, and here's what everyone's not really talking about.
Yeah, no, I think they're going to be a really, really fun defensive team. That's kind of where I'm, and I am going to lock the over, as you said, a trendy lock over, and I am going to do that. But yes, you did mention that during stretches, at least until Kyrie Irving comes back, who is A, handling the ball, and I think we'll get to answer that here in the next couple minutes, and then B, who is scoring at like an efficient enough clip at a consistent level. That's going to be a real issue. They do lose Spencer Dinwiddie. They replace him with D'Angelo Russell. So welcome back, D'Lo. So he's in town. But ultimately, I trust Jason Kidd because I saw him do a little bit of this with Giannis.
You trust Jason Kidd?
Well, hang on. Just not necessarily. Okay. I trust him in this sense. I saw him with Giannis in Milwaukee, and I saw him do a little bit of this in his early Giannis in Milwaukee, where he kind of just said, hey, Giannis, you can handle the ball. You can kind of run the offense. And I think he's going to do a little bit of that with Cooper Flagg. I think Cooper Flagg, first of all, already starting games at point guard in the preseason, which is, again, not much. But I think if we see a little bit of Cooper Flagg at the point, kind of handling
Mike, what do you think of that? Because there's times at Duke where I thought it worked really well, and there's times where I didn't. And you're a Duke guy, and I'm like an adjacent Duke guy. I just like the culture, if you will. Yeah. The brotherhood. And I just against some inferior teams, I liked it a lot more. But it felt like when teams were really picking him up, starting half court, he has a tight handle for his size. It's not like he has a ton of dribble moves. He loves to go behind his back. That's like his thing that he likes to do. He likes to go inside out. That's his other move that he likes to kind of spam a decent amount. I just don't know at an NBA level against other premier wings because I think they were getting lucky at times because Duke was such a big team. They had Proctor and Knipple as their backcourt, and I thought that was a real impactful thing.
But that's exactly
going against other ACC teams. When you look at Dallas, it's Klay and D'Lo. Like they're taller, I guess, but they're not physical players.
No, I get that.
It's like, okay, so they can afford to put the wings on Cooper Flagg and leave the guards on D'Lo and Klay. Unlike what was happening with Duke, sometimes they'd be forced if they were running a zone. there would be a guard on flag. You see a lot more zone in college, so he's able to exploit that. If it's like Herb Jones guarding Cooper Flag, it's like, oh God, like how's this gonna work? You know, you know what I'm trying to say right now.
I get that,
I'm
but
just a little worried about the pressure he's gonna face and how different that is to what he was facing night in with the ACC, which just wasn't a deep conference last year whatsoever.
right, but this is a big ball experiment for Dallas. They're going to run a lot of big lineups. So he's going to be in a similar-ish spot with Duke where he's got a lot of big guys around him. He's going to be in...
Okay. So you're saying if they run Flag at the point, they can insert like a Caleb Martin and PJ Washington.
What you can do is, or you can do Najee Marshall. Either way, but you can run two big lineups with Anthony Davis and Derek Lively, or heck, even throw Daniel Gafford in that trio, whether it's AD and Gafford, AD and Lively, Lively and Gafford. Lively,
I think that'd be a disaster.
Okay, that's
transition.
Fine.
Oh my God, they would never get back.
Right, of course, that's fine. But defensively, it'd be fun. Now, offensively, for Cooper Flag, you have no choice but to put a guard on Cooper Flag. I mean, who are you going to put a guard on? You're going to put a guard on Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, Najee Marshall. I mean, certainly, yeah, but how is Sacramento stopping this team from scoring? I think Dallas can score the basketball.
Sacramento's not stopping us from scoring. But.
That's fair. That's totally fine. But like some teams, they don't have the personnel to even match up with this bully ball, big ball experiment that Dallas is going to roll out there. Like, who's going to be? If you can switch, fine. There's some switchable teams in the NBA, like Oklahoma City or some other teams that actually have the personnel to do it. But not all the teams can just be like, yeah, switch.
But name me a serious team that you think would be really affected by this. Name me a serious team. Don't tell me Phoenix. Don't tell me New Orleans. Name me a serious team that you think will be really impacted by this.
In the playoffs, I think that the Los Angeles
Lakers... Not even the playoffs, just on a night basis. You're like, oh, if they match up with this team, I'd be worried for them.
I think if they match up with the Lakers have 3 cones that I don't think they can put on
yes,
Cooper Flag.
I think that's a good answer, because that's what I was thinking.
If you put Luka Doncic on Cooper Flag, I don't like that much. I don't like it for Luka at all. I think if you put Austin Reeves on there, I mean, Lakers have 3 guard lineups, which I'm like, okay, the Mavs can feast, at least size-wise, on this team. I think Golden State, no, probably not Golden State, but I was going to
say the Clippers, the other team in LA.
I'm thinking
your backcourt is James Harden and Bradley Beal. So,
okay, that's totally fair. Yeah, that's right there. I was thinking Golden State because I think that they're just old. We'll get to Golden State, but I think they're really old. So I think if guys are missing games and you can see a spot where it's like, oh, Pods is out there with like who?
I think there's some teams, but the point of the exercise is to say it's like it's not every team. There's plenty of teams that I think can actually handle this, and there's other teams where like the Lakers, they might not be able to handle it, but we've seen them just be able to outscore similar teams of this nature. Sure. So there's that.
Dallas have a problem scoring. Your overall point is solid because Dallas will, until Kyrie comes back, have problems scoring the basketball efficiently because they just don't have a ball handling guard that can take the pressure off. I mean, right now it literally is just D'Angelo Russell. I mean, Dante.
I'm going to go over Mike, and I wanted to lock it, but I'm not going to lock it. I think there's too many concerns, as I mentioned, particularly with scoring. Yeah. I think there's a world where Cooper Flag struggles for the first few months. I think Davis is too much of a burden. He could break down at any point. And then I just hate kind of all the ball handlers on this team. I'm not a D'Angelo Russell guy. I'm not a old man Klay Thompson guy. I like Caleb Martin as like your 9th guy off the bench, not you might need to play meaningful minutes tonight, man. And then Brandon Williams had some moments, but like, what is he going to do? Jaden Hardy's kind of whatever. Exum. We can go through the roster, but it's one of those things where there's just too many concerns for me. And I like this team a lot. Like, I'm bullish on them. They are like my 1-1 league pass team right now, maybe, just to see like what it looks like. But I'm just too concerned. I think it's easy to kind of talk yourself into a team like Dallas, but if you look at it logically, there's a lot more holes than we're giving credit for. So that's why I'm just gonna lean the over.
I'm locking it. Yeah, but I'm locking it because of their defense, which I just wanted real quick just to get on. I think with Lively and AD, I don't know, like who's scoring inside on them. Like if Lively and AD are playing together, 2 big lineups, like who's scoring in the paint against Dallas? I just don't. I think it's gonna be very difficult.
That's a good point. I just think you can outrun them so easily.
There's trade-off, of course. The transition might be an issue, but there's trade-off there. But I'm going to lock the Dallas over because, first of all, it's only 40.5 wins. They have the exact same total as Memphis. I'm sorry, I'm locking the Mavericks over. I think they win at least 40.
Yeah, I hate that. I hated that too. I thought this would be at least a 500 line. I thought this would at least be 42.5.
I did
and
too.
It's just not. So I think it's a confident over, but I see the writing on the wall of things that could go
some issues
sideways.
Yeah.
Mike, here's my favorite team in the league, and I'm not kidding. At least from an entertainment value, they might not be 1-1 on League Pass because I just want to see Cooper Flag at least for the start of the season. But as the season progresses, this is unquestionably 1-1 everything. It's the San Antonio Spurs. They're starting 5: De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Devin Vassell, Harrison Barnes, and Victor Wembenyama. And then as far as depth is concerned, Dylan Harper comes in, a premium draft pick because they needed one of those. Kelly Olynyk is there, as is Luke Cornett. They're doing the French vanilla big lineup, which I enjoy. Julian Champagny, who I think we have an affinity for.
Yeah, our guy, yeah.
Sohan still around, as is Keldon Johnson. I don't know what to do with them.
Carter Bryant in the lottery as well, I believe. Carter Bryant's in there. Little defensive guy.
He's probably buried to start, but we could see him eventually do something. Yeah, Team USA great, Micah Potter.
Yeah, he's
but I think if you look at this team, I do expect a lot of Kelly Olynyk to start and Luke Cornett to start. I think they will do a lot of that French vanilla big lineup in one way or another. Maybe some French Canadian stuff with Olynyk.
French Canadian with obviously.
Yeah. So my problem with this team is very simple. They are so rich at scoring guard. It is an unbelievable thing to be rich in because it's what you need in the modern NBA. You need great perimeter players. And they have 3.5 of them, the half being Devin Vassell. De'Aaron Fox, Stephon Castle, Dylan Harper, it's unbelievable, okay? But it's almost too unbelievable to the point where you might need to move off one of these guys and get a wing. We were begging for them to get a wing, and their solution was Kelly Olynyk and Carter Bryant. And we're like, okay, I don't know how much Carter Bryant fits in right away. It seems like he might get some playing time at a need, but he doesn't really fit the timeline right now. I still think he's kind of raw as a player.
Very raw.
It's just, okay, I really want to like this team. They're my favorite entertainment-wise. From a start to end of the season, I will be watching this team probably more than anyone else, and I'm excited about that. But you need a wing badly. You can't rely on Harrison Barnes. And to be honest, you probably need two, because even backup wings, Keldon Johnson, it's like, okay. It's Sohan, who has no idea what its role is anymore. At Baylor, he was basically Bruce Brown 2.0. Then they tried to make him a point guard. They tried to work on a shot a bit. Then they put him back at the 4, and then teams realized he couldn't shoot at all, and he wasn't scrappy enough defensively at the NBA level. I don't know what his role is anymore. It's
honestly kind of like, remember Josh Giddey on OKC? He was like, yeah, we don't really need to see him in a playoff series. I think we would need to see him on a different team. I don't really love
and it was like, we like something there. We don't really know what it is. It's kind of the same with Sohan. It's like, is it a better team he needs to be on? Is it a worse team? I don't know. I really don't know. It's just not this team, which is the problem. Mike, do you project this team making a trade? Because I've seen a lot of buzz that people are like, oh, I think they're going to stay pat for this year. I don't think they can.
No.
And I don't think they can because I don't think it's going to be a serious enough look at the talent on this team if they stand pat. I would keep Fox. I would keep Castle. I would consider moving Vassell, Barnes, Sohan, Johnson, and they have plenty of picks.
Really, any of those
I would
guys.
go try to get a serious 3, maybe even a serious 4 as well. But I think the nucleus of this team is so intriguing. It'd be doing them a disservice if they didn't kind of tweak this roster a little bit.
In my notes, I said I think this is a possible trade team at the deadline for some kind of wing. Kind of wing
trade up team, not a trade
up team. Yes, exactly. Yeah. So like they have too many of one thing. It's almost like when you have like, and they kind of, again, they locked into the number 2 pick. I don't think they really needed Dylan Harper. It's funny. I comped Dylan Harper to De'Aaron Fox. I was like, this is a very fast, push the pace kind of guard who I liked a lot. But it's like you have De'Aaron Fox now. I think San Antonio, obviously when they made that Fox trade, they didn't think they'd be picking number 2 overall. So it's like, how can you can do the hindsight 2020 thing, but they now have Dylan Harper. You have Stephon Castle. You have De'Aaron Fox. Vassell is like making, I believe, making $27 million a year. So can you move off of Devin Vassell, who we just classified as a half of that 3.5 that you already have? So can you move off of him? Can you move off of Barnes? Keldon Johnson, I don't need to see $17 million of him. Sohan as well, $7 million. Let's get that off the books. So they're definitely a team that I think would make a trade. I don't know what trade it would be, but it has to be for a serious-ish 3, whether it's 3 and D or whatever. You need a wing guy that can come in and play alongside these other pieces, because right now it's a lot of really good in one spot, and then you have Wemby. I think Wemby loses Chris Paul, who was finally able to throw him an entry pass, so he loses that kind of guy that can do that for him. But he's also got like 3 really good guards that we like a lot. So
can I give you a name?
Give me a name, please.
Lauri Markkanen.
Oh, perfect.
I think he fits with the identity of this team. I think he helps with the kind of international flair that they have going on.
That'd be best case scenario, yeah.
I think he could really play the 3. I think he could switch between the 3 and the 4. I think some of his defensive issues are a little bit overrated. I think at times he's a decent defender, actually. I think he plays really hard. At Arizona, he was like a rim protecting five. I think people forget that. And
Yeah,
he does lack the foot speed, but I think there's times where Laurie, I'm like, okay, he can kind of hold up here. And I think he especially holds up at the four with a big center next to him. We see Walker Kessler in Utah. I think Wemby is even a supercharged version of that, obviously.
yeah,
So I think he'd be a great name to fit in there. And then I don't think that would cost you that much. I think you'd be able to go out and get a guy. Does it have to be like a Dylan Brooks, where it's kind of a low end, like a grit three
right.
guy?
But
You
that would
already
be better
have
than
the
what we have.
offense with
Yeah,
Fox, Castle, Market, and Wemby. Can you go out and just get a purely like defensive stopper, like a Dylan Brooks on a bad team?
sure.
Could you go get maybe one of the guys in Portland if they go sideways early in the year, if they have some injury troubles? Could you get like a Kamara or something like that,
Yeah,
or a
that'd be
Tybal,
awesome.
even a Tybal as a band-aid fix, as just a backup wing that helps in some form or fashion.
That wouldn't
I
cost
think
you much.
there's
Yeah, that wouldn't cost you much.
yeah, I think there's names out there that they could really kind of think about and explore. I just think right now they need to do something. I have all the faith in the world they're going to do something, so I will take their over. But Mike, if you tell me that this is the team that finishes the season, I think I would lean under. I think the depth, particularly at forward, is just so unintriguing to
That's
me. I
yeah.
think it's really noticeably an issue. We all thought they'd address it. They didn't. I think it's only a matter of time. Unlike the NFL, which we're experiencing right now, I think there's far more seismic moves that just happen at random points in the NBA calendar. I don't
Yeah.
think it's reserved for the offseason. There's not a ton of names that I think they could explore, but there's enough. Laurie being kind of the king among them.
Right.
I think they eventually make a move, so I'm going over. But I'm worried that I'm just projecting on something that might not happen.
I had him right at this number. I had him at 44 wins. So unfortunately, I did have the under here. I think
Wow.
I
Okay.
know.
So we're kind of on the same wavelength, though. We have the same concerns.
Here's the thing. Here's my concern, and here's the big overarching issue of whether or not they go over or under. I think it depends on how many games does Wemby play. It's really just making on how many games he plays, because this is the biggest. It's kind of a ridiculous stat. The Spurs allowed 8.2 fewer points per 100 when Wemby's on the floor as opposed to when he's off the floor. That is the biggest on-off differential on defense among any full-time starter. So basically, his value to them when he's on the floor defensively is second to none. Basically, they're not a good defensive team when he's not on the floor. So when he's out there, they're probably gonna go over this number for sure. But if he's not, I mean, what else do we like about this? I know the front court of Cornette and Olynyk is definitely better than it was last year for San Antonio. Whenever he was
Way better. I think that's like actually a big deal.
Of course, it's a huge deal. Remember, him and Fox, I believe, only played 6 games together before his eventual injury. Wemby, we're talking about. So, how does him and Fox play together? I think ultimately it just comes down to Wemby. It comes down to like you're banking on how many games Wembanyama plays and can he stay healthy for a full season. If he does, they're going to fly over this number 44.5.
You want to know the other thing, Mike? The shooting good, but it's not great. So
Right.
Castle, I thought, really excelled with the ball in his hands. Fox is going to have the ball. Is Castle just going to kind of be relegated to the corner? And then Barnes isn't good enough of a straight up shooter at this point in his career to kind of take advantage of being left on the other corner or the other wing opposite of Castle.
Yeah.
So there's concerns about that. I think there's few better players around the dunker spot than Cornette, but then it kind of clogs it up for Wemby, who could be anywhere on the court. It's kind of unclear what his role is at this point. He's kind of half Kevin Durant, half rim running big. And I think at some point that's got to gel into something more coherent. So there's a lot of unknowns, and I think it's wise to maybe take the slight under. I just have all the faith in the world that there's going to be a change. Some way or another, there's going to be a change. It's going to be apparent too early on in the season. And I don't even think it's going to be one of those things where they lose games like bad teams because of it. I think they can kind of beat anyone on any given night. I just think it'll be watching them. It'll be like, oh yeah, they really need a wing. Like, can we please get a wing?
Yeah, they're my 101 as far as league pass. Because I'm interested to see how the fit works. I mean, again, we only saw 6 games of Fox and Wemby last year. I want to see how Fox plays alongside Castle. I want to see how he plays alongside Dylan Harper. There's too many guys I'm interested to see. I could probably end up regarding this under because again, but it's 44.5. I think their over under being 4 wins more than Dallas. I don't agree with. So I think by nature, if I'm locking Dallas over, I think I probably should be safer and go San Antonio under. But I could end up regretting it. I think they both could be 45-win teams, and they could both go over. Obviously, Dallas's number is just lower. That's probably the only difference there.
Mike, this is a team coming up. I think it has one of the most volatile ceiling floor distributions in the league.
Huge.
I just don't know. It's the Golden State Warriors. Their line is 46.5, a perfect bait line, in my opinion. They're starting five: Steph Curry, Buddy Hield, Jimmy Buckets, Draymond Green, Al Horford coming over from
Can you read the
Boston.
ages to those names, please? I mean, that's an old starting five, guys.
You want to know what I can do? I can say this: old, not as old. Old, old, old. How was that?
Brittle, yeah. The old and brittle. There's a lot of old in this team. There's a lot. It's an old starting five, basically. That's really old.
And then their bench is GP2 is re-signed. Pods. Seth Curry comes in. I am excited for the Currys to share the floor together. I think that'll just be kind of fun.
That's cool.
Moses Moody. The most reluctant re-signing in NBA history of Jonathan Kuminga. Quentin Post, who I enjoyed at times last year. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my guy, Guy Santos, who I just think is one of my favorite deep bench guys in the entire league. And then Pat Spencer, who is the most underrated athlete of our time. How do you go from being basically the Heisman winner of lacrosse, I believe multiple times over, to being an NBA guy multiple seasons over? How is that even possible? Like, I don't understand, but that is incredibly impressive. So shout out my guy, Pat Spencer. But what is going on with this team's roster construction? Because it seems like this is not only Steph Curry's last hurrah at this point. It's Al Horford's, it's Draymond Green's, it's Jimmy Butler's. So in a sense, it's kind of smart where you're trying to have all these guys on the same timeline, but that also means you're probably the biggest injury walking red flag akin to Philly in the entire league. And then your bench, which they were trying to inject this youth movement in, it kind of just sucks. Like Kuminga, we don't really know what to make of. Moses Moody is just a below average starter. I guess he's kind of a decent like eighth man, I suppose. And then Pods stunk. He was just bad last year after really having a solid rookie season. Trace Jackson Davis, it seems like they change their opinion on him every week. God forbid anyone goes down. Anyone. It does not matter which of those four old starters goes down. This team dramatically gets worse. That includes Al Horford. Because I think even Quentin Post, or Trace Jackson Davis, that's just not a viable enough backup.
You no longer have Kevon Looney to just kind of plug in on a random Tuesday night.
And even Looney looked like the tires were really treaded on him last year. Yeah, they were getting bare there. So I'm going to go, oh my, I can't believe I'm doing this. Wow. I have to go under for this reason. There's no way this team stays healthy. There's no way. It's impossible. Even if Steph is the one who stays healthy, I do not trust two of Jimmy, Draymond, and Al to say. I just can't. It's a bad bet regardless. No matter which direction you go in, you don't like it. I have to go under just because there's too many red flags. I hate it. I love Steph, obviously. I like Jimmy in this situation. Al is very sentimental to me as well.
Of course.
But it's just, it's too many old guys.
I
just can't do it.
The words out of my notes directly. I said, I'm betting on Steph to miss a few weeks due to something. I'm betting on Jimmy Butler to miss a few weeks due to something. And Draymond and Horford, you can pick and choose one of the two. I think there's three guys here at least three, that can miss a month and they're going under. If just one or two of these guys miss a month, I think this is an under bet. And it honestly just comes down to me not really liking the team. I don't really like the team, to be honest with you. If you told me that all five of these starters are going to play and be healthy, then sure, they can obviously go over this number. But I don't like the inevitability of when those guys do go out in this time. I'm not a big Pods guy. I don't think he shoots the ball that well. I'm not a big Kuminga guy. I know our guy Bill Simmons likes Kuminga, possibly on a different team, maybe in the Eastern Conference. But on this team, when he goes in, they're drastically worse as a team. And I don't think Steve Kerr trusts him still. I just don't like the
I think that's the entire problem, right? It's the Kerr kind of yanking him around at every point he can. If you're Kuminga, I kind of do have sympathy for him. Like, what are you supposed to do? Are you really supposed to trust this guy who doesn't seem to have your best interest in mind? And I think Kuminga went about it the wrong way. He went public with a lot of this at different points last year in particular, because I think he was trying to kind of get his way out of Golden State. But then he hit free agency, realized no one had money, and Golden State was like, we need some sort of insurance policy.
Welcome back.
Like, we kind of need you too. Sure. So it was kind of best for both parties. But at the same time, I feel like it's just going to be more of the same, right? Like, what's going to change? He's paid, then maybe he's content. I don't know.
Maybe, but ultimately, I don't like the law. I don't like the roster. I mean, you mentioned Guy Santos. I only like 8 guys out of this 10-man rotation. That's really it. I don't even like the 10-man rotation. I mean, Seth Curry will be fine. That'll be nice to see the Curry brothers finally together, but I don't need to see any more of Gary Payton II. I don't need to see any more of Quentin Post. I know you're a big Quentin Post guy. I just don't really. I don't like him as far as
I
like
liked him because of where he went to college. I can't
course,
say I'm
yeah,
a
but as a
fan
spot,
of him in the league. Yeah.
right, but as a spot starter, when Al Horford misses a week, I don't know about that. I just don't like any of these. I don't like the depth enough. I don't like the depth enough. I know they're high on Moses Moody, Pods, and Kuminga. I was never high on any of the 3 guys. And again, if it just takes Steph, pulling a hammy and missing 2 or 3 weeks, and this thing goes under, I just think it comes down to they're old, and I'm betting on them being old. It's the same thing with Butler in Miami last year. Butler volatile ended our season a month into the season. He was like not showing up to games. I don't think he's going to be unhappy at all in this point. But I mean, every year in the regular season, you can kind of bank on Butler to miss a few weeks for something. Something is nagging. He's old. He's like, I think 37 now. Steph, I believe, is also 37. So something will nag up and something will pop up, and it'll be a nagging injury, and it'll probably happen right around the All-Star break, which it usually does. And they'll probably be hovering around 500 when this happens. So I think inevitably an injury or 2 will pop up, and I don't like the depth enough behind them. I only like 8 guys. I don't think it's enough depth for the Warriors to get to this number. 47 is what they have to get to for them to go over this. I'm locking the under because I think there's going to be injuries. I think I'm locking injuries to happen, and by virtue of injuries happening, I'm blocking their under because I think the West is too good. I'm sorry. It's my only lock under in East or West that I'm doing. The other 3 I locked ever.
You suck for that. You hate going under. It's just ridiculous.
I'm sorry.
I'm the opposite. Most of my unders are locks because I just hate teams. You're like trying to be nice. It's whatever.
I locked an under. I found an under.
In case Buddy Hield sees this pod. Like, I get it. I do.
All right, buddy.
I talk to you more than me, but...
You're mean to the Nets. I was trying to give the Nets the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they can.
I mean...
they can't.
We should get Yegor on the program. Like, he might not be that hard to crack
be happy about this.
I don't know.
I
love to call him Igor too, just because it's like way funnier that way. But
I guess it's pronounced Yegor, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the LA teams. We'll start with the Clippers.
Yay.
The Clippers line's 47.5. The Lakers line is 48.5. So both teams seemingly are in similar situations at this point. They're both kind of old. They both have high-end stars. At least the Lakers have the younger end star in Luka Doncic, whereas the Clippers are kind of a retirement home at this point. We'll start with the Clippers. James Harden, Bradley Beal, Kawhi Leonard, John Collins, and Zubac are their trotting out starting 5. As far as depth is concerned, don't worry, it gets older because Chris Paul is the backup starting point guard. And then they have my guy Chris Dunn, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Nicholas Batum, and then Brooke Lopez. If you needed more age in there, thanks for coming.
Really old.
Cam Christie was their draft pick last year. People liked in the preseason. He did absolutely nothing. And then Derrick Jones is still kind of hanging around. So it is lock under. I'm just
really?
Say,
are you
lock under? Are you ready for this?
No.
I don't think you're ready for this. 2 things. One, if you're concerned about the Golden State Warriors' health, oh my God, you have to be concerned about the Clippers' health because Kawhi's been a little bit too healthy lately, which is good for the league. I'm a Kawhi guy, but a little bit too healthy. Bradley Beal's the human splint. Chris Paul is 40 years old. He's on this team. If they don't have Kawhi, if they don't have Beal, it's going to be the James Harden show. And that works in a bad West. That does not work in a good West, let me tell you. So there's that. Here's the reason I'm locking it, though. This Kawhi thing's real. This Pablo Torre Kawhi thing is real. It is 100% real. It's painfully obvious. There's an investigation going on. I'm not saying he's going to get suspended, but I think the vibes are so weird around this team right now. They're just so weird. It seems like every few weeks, Pablo Torre comes out on Twitter with a new video. Here's the latest, and then it just gets more damning, and it gets more concerning that the Clippers circumvented the salary cap by signing Kawhi, who could have got way more money in Toronto and probably would have been in a better position with the Lakers. The money matches up to support this. There are so many documents that support this as well. The Sham Tree Company, a lot of us know the story, but just to catch everyone up that didn't. But regardless, the vibes are terrible right now, I think, around Los Angeles, kind of waiting for this potential hammer to come down. I hate bad vibe teams. I'm not a vibe guy. I'm not Shannon on Survivor. Maybe 3 people will get that reference.
Yeah.
But I just can't do the bad vibe team plus the old age team. I think this is a disaster waiting to happen. I think this is so clearly like a few of these guys get hurt. The Clippers get the quote unquote NBA death penalty. They lose a draft pick. Kawhi gets suspended. I think that is all in play for this team. Will it happen? I don't know. I'm not an insider at this point. I'm not sure. But I just think right now, there's just way too many question marks on this team. And there's way too much potential of this could really just kind of bottom out at any point, given the off the court stuff. I'm just really concerned about all that.
Yeah, I'm very surprised you went lock under on this. I like the team.
I'm going to go, you know what, Mike? I'm going to strip the lock. I'm going to strip the lock. I'm going to keep the under. I'm going to keep the under, though. Okay. I like the team, too. If they're totally healthy, if Dunn is the starting two, I like the idea of Harden, Dunn, Kawhi, John Collins, and Zubac. And then off the bench, you have Bradley Beal as this kind of super six man. You have Chris Paul to kind of ease in that second unit, which they didn't really have last year. Bogdanovich can score the leather off the ball.
Brook Lopez
is a good utility piece. And Brook Lopez, I think, is a free backup center. I think that's a high-end backup center for this team. So, yeah, no, obviously I like the guys. I'm a big Zubac guy. I thought he was spectacular last year. They have enough talent per se. It's just the A, obvious injury concern, B, the obvious off-the-court concern. Usually when you have both of those things so prevalent, teams just kind of fold. It usually just does not go well.
Yeah, this was similar to the Warriors to me, but it's an old roster, but I like their depth much more than I like Golden State's depth. And that's
you have to. You have to.
I think they're again, they're old, but they're maybe 11, 12 guys deep. I mean, I like Kobe Brown a little bit out of Missouri, second-year guy. I like Derek Jones deep down there in that wing depth position there. Chris Dunn's over there, Cam Christie, whatever. Bogdanovich, Nicholas Batum, Brook Lopez. I mean, these are all guys we've seen in playoff games before, and they'll have to shorten the rotations. I don't know how much I like them in a playoff series, but the depth here is old veteran guys that have proven to be solid in the regular season before. Chris Paul it's his last hurrah. We got a Chris Paul James Harden reunion. Are we into that? They played together in Houston. That was their closest chance of getting to the finals.
I thought they got hosed when Paul went down, but again, what happened? Paul went down because that's what happens every year with those guys. Paul has been actually weirdly healthy the last few seasons, and I don't think they're super reliant on him. So if they lose him, it's whatever. But they're relying on Bradley Beal to score. I'll tell you that. They're relying on James Harden to set up for everyone. They're relying on Kawhi to be a premium star.
And by the way, Harden had a really good offensive regular season last year. Now Norm Powell is out. They replace him with Bradley Beal. They replace him with Chris Paul. They replace him with Brook Lopez. They replace him with John Collins. So they bring in a bunch of guys.
Enough. Yeah, should be enough.
Bring in a bunch of guys who can score the ball theoretically. I mean, I don't mind John Collins in this role. Ultimately, the vibes are a little off. 47.5 is a big number. I did have them at 47 wins. I ultimately did have them slight under, but I'm certainly not locking it. I'm glad you stripped the lock off them because I think they are talented enough to get to 48 wins. Like, there's a world where they can.
I'm worried.
I've seen
for the same reason about Golden State, but as you mentioned, I stripped the lock because I like their depth more. So even if some of these things go sideways, I like Bogdanovich to just score like 25 on a random night. I just like more of that than the Kuminga, the Pods.
Oh, the Warriors were relying on young guys to kind of give them 25 on a random night. I've seen Derek Jones, Bogdanovich, Batum, Chris Dunn. Like those depth guys can on a random Wednesday on ESPN, they can kind of give you nice games. Brook Lopez in a demoted role as a backup big can still shoot the lights out a little bit from deep and can't rebound at all.
I like him way more at like 18 minutes a night as like a great backup
20 minutes for sure.
Relying on him. Yeah. I think he'll actually excel in that role. I think he'll get a few more years out of that.
Yeah, but ultimately, I think that this is probably a slide under for me as well. I do think Tyronn Lue is a really good coach and can get them to kind of in a similar role as Spoelstra. I think he can squeeze out roster wins. Like even if Kawhi is to miss a month or two, which he probably will. Let's call it what it is. I think that Tyronn Lue can patch it up. Like I've seen the Clippers like tank on a given night and still win a game or be competitive with like an OKC. Like I've seen them just like not play guys and have like just rely on their depth. And I've still seen Tyronn Lue kind of coach guys into games, and like the games are close, competitive. And I don't know, the Clippers can steal a few games. Now, if the vibes are terrible and this Kawhi thing goes sideways, then this is an easy under. But I think
you got to think that that's a real possibility, right?
It's in the cards for sure. I mean, I flirted with that idea, but I think that they're still like just as far as the roster goes on the court. I still like the team. Like I like all these.
Yeah, no, I do too.
It's almost the last two raw for the Bradley Beals, the Chris Pauls, the James Harden, the Kawhi Leonards of the world. Like all these, basically the entire roster. It's like the last.
Even like James Harden, he knows his time's.
This is it.
You know, he at one point has to have a good playoff series, right?
That's why they didn't go in the other direction. I thought when they exactly eventually they'll have a good playoff series. That's why I think when they traded Paul George, or didn't trade, it was a sign and trade, whatever. When they lost Paul George, I figured, okay, they're just gonna go and fully blow this thing up. But then again, it's like you have a new arena, everything's coming, all the bells and whistles are coming out. I think the Clippers want to be competitive, so they didn't end up kind of tearing everything down. They ended up.
I don't think Bomber's a tanking guy, especially if he did all that work to circumvent the salary cap. If that's true,
I think they're
not in his DNA.
Right, so they're going to try and be competitive. They're going to try and win games. It's similar to the Pelicans thing. What I mean, it's like they're not going to be trying to lose games again, unless things goes totally sideways. But they're still in it to win it. This is their last kind of chance as far as an older nucleus. But still, I'm going to take their under, but I'm not locking it like I did with Golden State. 'Cause I think Golden State's, when they get injured, I don't like the depth behind those old brittle starting five. With the old brittle starting five at LA, I think the depth guys are serviceable enough to kind of get them close to 48 wins.
Let's go to the other side of town. The Los Angeles Lakers, they're starting five.
Oh, boy.
Luka, Austin Reeves. We'll put LeBron in. I don't know his injury status. No one seems to know. JJ Redick came out yesterday and said it was tricky. I'm going to assume he misses maybe a few weeks. I don't think it's that big of a deal. But again, it's one of those things we'll see. So I'm going to insert him in there. Rui Hachimura, and then DeAndre Ayton dominating comes over. Their bench is bizarre. It is Gabe Vincent, it's Marcus Smart, it's Vando, Dalton Connect, Jake LaRavia, Jackson Hayes, Maxi Kleba, and Bronny, of course.
Yeah.
So there's that. Mike, we're at the point where I think I've taken too many unders, and I'm going to have to kind of on the fly maybe figure this out here, because I believe we've both taken too many unders.
Well, I've taken too many unders in a row, but I did. So I changed to, I actually had Memphis over, but I changed mid conversation to Memphis under. So I have to by default give somebody an over. Maybe that's San Antonio. Maybe it's someone else. I don't know.
You've gone 4 of the last 5 with over. So I think I'm just going to stick my guns. And then when we do the review at the end, I might make a change, because this has to be an under, right? This team outside of the two obvious guys of Doncic and LeBron just blows. They're relying on DeAndre Ayton to be their 5. I think it was so dumb that they went back on that Mark Williams deal. I think it's so stupid, because I understand the injury concerns, but there's something fishy about this, because I feel like we're the only people that care about this, because we are massive Mark Williams guys. This has to be said. They failed his physical. Charlotte didn't fail his physical. Phoenix didn't fail his physical.
Just the Lakers.
Magically, the Lakers are the only team to fail his physical. Here's my thought process. I think they saw the reaction that perhaps they gave up too early on Connect, maybe didn't get enough value for Connect. At the end of the day, Connect kind of stinks. So I think they realized that was a disastrous transaction and tried to get something else for Connect, and they realized, oh my God, wait, we had the perfect transaction for Connect. It was Mark Williams. Even if Mark Williams wasn't great, like, he's at least a viable 5 in some form or fashion. He's better than Jackson Hayes at the absolute worst. So there was really no reason to kind of go back on that deal, and then they couldn't kind of supplement it with anything else. So Connect's just kind of there, unhappy, not playing good basketball. You look at the starters. I love Austin Reeves with all my heart. I think he's going to be awesome for a different team. One of these days, he's going to get out of there, and he's going to be a really impactful guard. We were shipping him to San Antonio for it felt like 3 years, and now they have way too many, so it'll have to be somewhere else. But I like Doncic, Reeves, LeBron as players together. It doesn't make any sense. Reeves is so much better as a primary ball handler. The pick and roll stuff he was doing with Davis and LeBron was so awesome 2 years ago. Last year, they kind of went away from it. Reeves wasn't as impactful. They started doing it for a little while. It was good again, and then all of a sudden they got Doncic, and Reeves was back to kind of standing in the corner, and it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And then you have Hachimura, who's a good supplemental piece, but as a starter around these guys, I'm not sure. And then Ayton, who just absolutely blows. The defense is bad from top to bottom. This is a pitiful defensive unit. The backups aren't much better. They're bringing in Marcus Smart probably to kind of play super sub role and play defense alongside Doncic. Again, he looked super washed last year across his stints. From his time in Memphis to Washington, it just never looked good for him.
No.
Mike, this team is a disservice to Doncic and LeBron.
It is.
And it's all LeBron's fault. It really is. For
Really?
trying to meddle. Oh my god. Yeah. For trying to meddle with this roster his entire time in Los Angeles. They have no picks anymore. He's I'm glad he has Doncic. Like that's cool, but his reluctance to kind of move off other guys and to acquire assets because oh yeah, they have no assets. So he's reluctant that they're not getting these guys. You're the one who kind of forced the team to spend all these assets. And then of course, you're able to get Luka Doncic, which is awesome. That's one of the heists of all time.
Yeah.
But you're not able. You probably had to move a guy like Reeves at an appropriate time when he was playing at his best to get, either higher end talent or get picks of some sort. Shuffle it around. You're Los Angeles. Usually, you're able to get guys for 60 cents on the dollar. It's just what happens with the Lakers. They've done it their entire existence.
They had it with Mark Williams. That was the 60 cents on the dollar trade.
Yeah, and that would have been big for this team. Would it have been that big? I don't know, but it would have been the start to something at least.
Better than Jackson Hayes, yeah.
Better than Jackson Hayes. Honestly, probably better than DeAndre Ayton, too.
Yeah.
It's just one of these teams where you think, okay, maybe you squeeze something out of some of these guys, but at the end of the day, what is squeezing anything out of Gabe Vincent or Marcus Smart? It's just unrealistic. I thought about locking the under only because LeBron's already hurt, man.
That's what I'm saying,
so if he misses more time, there's no way they touch this line. This line is truly baked into Luka and LeBron playing at MVP-ish level. And if he's already hurt, he's old. He's going to miss time one of these years, you'd have to imagine. Out of respect for him, I'm just going to go a light under. But, man, this stretch of Golden State, Los Angeles, Clippers, and Lakers. One of these teams is probably going to go over. We both can sit here and admit that. Yeah. But I'm not going to tell you which one it is because it's impossible to figure out. So I'm just going to take my chances and make another under in that.
It won't be the Lakers. It won't be the Lakers. They're going to go under. I don't really
This line feels idiotic, doesn't it? This line feels way too high. Like what was your mental line for this? Because mine is probably like 45 and a half.
I thought it'd be 45, 46. Yeah. I think that there's no way they win 49 games unless Luka Doncic literally goes psycho and he's MVP of the league, possibly. That's the only really chance.
I think the only way they go above this line, Mike, is if they're able to package like Vando, Hashimura, connect, and get an actual guy because it's the Lakers and they do the voodoo magic and they trade their like 2038 first rounder.
And then they have like a really good second half of the season. Yeah. But defensively, I said, I don't mind the 10-man rotation. I don't think they have enough defensively to win 50 games. There's just no chance.
It's awful. It is so bad. Talk about another team that we can score on.
Richard Cones. It's literally
oh my God.
We mentioned it earlier with DeAndre Ayton. Portland paid him to go away. They didn't want him there anymore. They were like, yes.
Yeah, but the Lakers are trying to do the new situation thing. Guess what? We just saw him in a new situation where he was out of the limelight. He was on a team that, if I had to guess, if we were ranking like the least watched teams in the league, Portland has to be up there. The stadium's falling apart. There's been rumors about them moving for a while. They were really uninspiring the last few years. Now they're kind of like a trendy, fun team. But throughout his tenure, like a bad situation where he kind of was able to do anything he wanted.
The motor's
and it
still
looked
not there.
bad. It looked bad. He didn't look aggressive at all. The defense was falling off a cliff of what we thought potentially could be like a depoy level player during his early stint in Phoenix.
Yeah.
They're banking on that to magically come back. I think that's ridiculous.
Well, his motor sucks, and that's like we kind of know that. He's
probably the worst motor of any supposed to be serious basketball player in the league.
Right. So to get to that, this Luka Ayton 2-man game. Remember, these two guys were in the same draft class. Ayton went 1, Luka went 3. They're now on the same team. Can they unlock something in dominating that we haven't seen before? We'll see. I'm going to go ahead and say no. But I am interested to see how that.
We're so out on him. It's like not even funny.
Oh yeah, we're very out on him. By the way, again, Portland was very out on him as well. I kind of trust that Portland, when they said enough's enough, that's, when you're paying someone to go away, that's kind of a sign that's like, yeah, they don't really have it. The Lakers are trying to make something happen. They needed a big who wasn't Jackson Hayes. Obviously, they whiffed on the Mark Williams trade. They now have dominating DeAndre Ayton coming in, who's back he's still on the West Coast, but he went to school in Arizona, so he's back closer to home here. We'll see how that looks. He's a decent roller. I mean, he's not the lob threat that Luka played with in Dallas, where he had Lively, he had Gafford, he had these lob threats he just threw the ball up to. He's not that kind of lob threat, so we'll see how that works with Luka. Luka obviously needs a guy who can just go up there and catch a lob, because Luka's an all-time great lob threat or lob passer of the basketball. So he just needs a guy who can roll and finish at the rim, which we'll see how Ayton does. It's really not hard playing with Luka Doncic. So if Ayton's ever going to be decent, at least offensively, you got a guy in Luka Doncic to run pick and rolls with. So if not now, it's a lost cause. But I'm not really seeing it. Again, I think defensively is the big issue here. They have too many cones. I mean, I don't know if you're into turning Dorian Finney-Smith into Jake LaRavia. Wasn't really my cup of tea. I know that was cheaper. It's cheaper.
It's a nothing move to me.
It's a nothing move, right? So they couldn't pony up the money for Finney-Smith. He goes to Houston, who gives him a decent sized contract, and then they get LaRavia for 2 years at a decent whatever contract money there. So they get cheaper there. Gabe Vincent, whatever. Marcus Smart, again, looked washed. The Vandalorian, really good defensive player, offers nothing offensively. So they have too many guys. I think they're a trade team. They have to make a few trades at the deadline. Maybe they do their weird voodoo thing where they turn, nothing player into, whoa, this is a really impactful player for the Lakers. Maybe they do that. But ultimately, the line here is, again, LeBron's already out for 4 weeks with sciatica, which is kind of like an old man injury. It just means he's getting old. That's all it is. Sciatica, I mean, right. It's like these golf guys get it when they're like in their 40s. Like, yeah, it's just they've been sitting on the couch eating potato chips. It's kind of just what it is. You're an older player now, and that's unfortunate what it is. But it means he's getting old, and it means he's missing games. And if he's missing games, it means that Luka's on a roster that does not have another All-Star on the, again, unless Austin Reeves. But it's the fit. It doesn't make any sense. So if it's not Luka and LeBron both playing MVP level, they're not winning 50 games. It's not happening. Luka would have to be literally the best player in basketball to carry this roster right now to 49, 50 wins in this Western Conference. So if you're assuming LeBron's going to miss some time, which he already is, he's already doing something we've never happened before, which is miss an opening day game. He's never missed an opening day game, and now he is. And it's not going to return back until probably November, and we'll see what the Lakers are at that point. We're going to talk about the Lakers come February and the trade deadline. It's like, okay, well, what do they need? Because this is not a team that can win 50 games as currently constructed. So it's an under for me unless something happens at the deadline where they get infinitely better. But right now, it's an under for sure.
I think this is a team we'll both be over on, I assume, which is the Minnesota Timberwolves. We're both massive Ant fans. I almost put on the hoodie today. They're starting 5, Mike Conley, Anthony Edwards, Jaden McDaniels, Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert. They're basically running it back. They're saying, hey, didn't go our way. We're going to try again. Ant goes up another level. Julius stays more consistent. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
Depth pieces. Rob Dillingham, I think, will actually play a decent sized role this year. I think they're ready for him to kind of come in and be a guy. So we'll see with that. Dante DiVincenzo is still around. Terrence Shannon, a guy I thought played his ass off last year at points. I really liked what I saw from him. Naz Reid, they're able to get the extension done. He doesn't go to Brooklyn. Stunner. And then you want to do the pronunciation here because I was trying before we came on. I think I'm going to do this. Johan Berenger. Did I do that well enough? Right. Yeah, okay. I'm happy with that. Leonard Miller's still around, as is Joe Ingles. This is the team. This is the team pretty much. We're banking on Rob Dillingham to take a step up. We're banking on Ant to take a step up to kind of enter that super rare stratosphere. I think Ant gets placed with like the top 5 guys. I don't think he is consistently enough at points, but I think he's nearing it. I think he's right there. Because if we did like the Jokic, SGA, Giannis, you can put Luka there, I guess. I have reservations with that. Tatum when he's healthy. And then I think there's maybe a slight gap, and then it's Ant. I think they're banking on Ant to take that slight gap away and just kind of insert himself with that tier, while also having production from one of Rob Dillingham or Terrence Shannon. Obviously, they want it to be Dillingham. They made a big move to get him. They made capital moves to get him as well. It's just one of these things where it's like they're banking on Rob Dillingham to be an immediate contributor. They put him on ice for a year, and now they're like, okay, you're going to need the backup keys. Here you go. I just thought they maybe could have gave him more of a chance last year if they want to thrust him in this role immediately. I am worried about putting so much on his plate kind of immediately. It's a little worrisome. And then Rudy, we've seen him, his kind of entire gimmick is played out to me, but he's still important, at least in the regular season, as is Julius Randle, who had a really, really good start to the playoffs and then fizzled out in kind of dramatic fashion, but had a better start than anyone could have imagined. He freaking outplayed LeBron James. It was ridiculous. Yeah. So Julius eventually, I think, he's such a frustrating player because there's times where you watch him and you're like, this is awesome. Like he's kind of balling out, he's hooping, and then there's other times where we can't stop texting about how terrible everything looks. I thought his motor was better, at least. I think that was a step in the right direction. I think at points it was just he was invisible. The talent was lacking.
Well, he wasn't getting booed like they did in New York every 5 days.
No.
Effort.
So that was an improvement. Yeah. This is an easy over. I am just concerned with the depth on this team. The depth is really, it's really banking on some guys to play above their skis here. Like Dillingham, again, I'm just going to say it one more time. They gave up so much to get him.
Yeah, they did.
And if they earmark him in this role, they could at least kind of trot him out for some random games last year and let him just play like 35 minutes. They didn't do that. So now he's going to have to be kind of the sixth man on this team with DiVincenzo. Yeah. They're kind of go hand in hand. I don't know. I like Rob Dillingham. I just, the guy has his own logo. It feels like there's this notion that he's just going to step in and be a star. I'm not there yet, man. I'm just not.
Okay, but it sounds like you're still going to go over, though, right? You're going to go over.
I'm going over because of how much I respect Ant and how much I respect regular season Julius Randle, who I thought was an absolute baller last year. I thought he was fantastic. So
we agree. We're both going over. It's year 2 of the Dante DiVincenzo, Julius Randle experiment. You know, they kind of got there late. So we're going to get a whole full season of really, this is what the Wolves roster is. Because at this point, at this time last year, we didn't even know who the Wolves team would be. I mean, I believe it was like around this exact time where they made that trade. I think it was like week 5 of the college ball season, and they made this trade, and like, oh, this happened like a week before the season started. So they get him, or they get both of them. How do they replace NAW is really the big thing here. They're replacing him kind of through the aggregate. They have, Terrence Shannon. They have Jalen Clark. They have, obviously, Rob Dillingham for whenever the inevitable happens, which is Conley, who is now 38. Mike Conley is 38. So the wheels are eventually going to fall off of Mike Conley. The tires are already kind of leaking, and there's some issues there. But, he's still going strong in the playoff series. Eventually, you get too deep into a playoff series, which, by the way, the last 2 years, our Wolves have been in the Western Conference Finals. But in those series, it's like, oh, maybe we need more than Mike Conley, who's kind of just looks outmatched in these Western Conference Finals series against, the year before it was Luka and Kyrie, and then last year it was SGA and all those dangerous guards. It just looked like Mike Conley shouldn't have been on the floor. So the good news is they have Rob Dillingham waiting in the wings, who they like a lot. They liked him a lot to give up all they got. They gave up a ton for him. You mentioned it. They picked him, I believe, 8 overall in the draft last year. So they kind of have him waiting in the wings. If he's good, which they like him a lot, then you can kind of seamlessly go from Mike Conley, who's 38 years old and kind of wearing down, to Rob Dillingham. And obviously you mentioned Terrence Shannon played his ass off last year. Jalen Clark, they like him defensively. So they have guys who they can kind of, replace the offensive output of NAW. And then obviously you're going to see an increased role of Dante DiVincenzo. We're going to see more of our guy Dante. Whether people like to or not, we're going to see more of Dante DiVincenzo. I think that's
he was better. Maybe the most disappointing player in the league last year. I thought he was easily a top 100 guy the season prior with the Knicks. I thought it was almost an overpay when they put him in the cat deal for seemingly no reason. I thought that was kind of ridiculous. I was like, I think Randall and some capital is enough. I can't believe you just kind of tossed in a meaningful rotation guy. DiVincenzo.
Yeah, he's one of the best. He was one of the 5 best 3-point shooters that year when he was shooting the lights out with the Knicks. He was an awesome 3-point shooter. So why would you just throw him in and just give him away like that?
Yeah, and I guess that's why, because it looked like he was just lost out there a lot, and the shooting regressed. Maybe he bounces back this year. I don't see why he wouldn't.
Yeah, I think that he's going to have a much better year. I mean, I don't...
He has to, right? It felt like an anomaly the entire time. It just felt like he couldn't hit open shots anymore, and it was strange.
Yeah, and by the way, the Timberwolves last year were abysmal in close games. They played, I believe, the most clutch games.
They were the anti-Chiefs, basically.
The anti-Chiefs. They couldn't win close games. They were like 27-9 in games that were not clutch games, which is 5 points, within 5 points with 5 minutes to go. So whenever they're winning, they're blowing you out. In the games that were close, they were not clutch. I also expect that trend to kind of flip a little, not flip entirely, but when you have guys,
you think like Ant is such a good clutch player. Yeah. I think too often it was bogged down between Ant and Randall, and one of them was kind of double teamed, and they would try to kick it to the other, and it was just a mess. It happened so much. Disaster. They would shade Edwards, and then he would try to get it to Randall, and then it would be like
a lot of turnovers.
It was sloppy. Yeah, exactly. Really sloppy. I think if they just play within the confines of the offense and just work with maybe a pick and roll, something. They just have to do something. It can't just be ISO ball, which it was. Yeah, and by the way, like Randall back to the basket stuff. It was just not good. Yeah, if they just improve that in any sense of the fashion, it'll be much better.
And by the way, we like Anthony Edwards taking another leap as a playmaker. We saw him have some.
I think he gets into that rarefied air that we were talking about.
He had some nice moments in that OKC series and in that Golden State series. I mean, they were doubling him all basically when he got past half court in that OKC series. It's unfortunate that the guys just weren't making shots in that series against the Thunder. Like they were just missing a lot of threes outside of that game 3 where they shot the lights out. They really weren't shooting the ball very well. in that series. So Anthony Edwards takes another leap as a playmaker. I think this is an over just because I like Anthony Edwards.
Mike, can I give you a quote here that I picked out for this?
Sure.
This was from the Shelton Herald. I don't know if they were the ones that originally published this piece,
Okay.
but here's a quote about Anthony Edwards. I think he became really addicted to the film room this offseason. His work ethic's always been great, but this summer has been a whole nother level. President of basketball operations Tim Conley said, who, again, built kind of the Denver Nuggets supernova. I think he's really focused on how to be more effective late in games. That's why I picked that out, because I knew you'd bring it up. That's it right there. Not just for himself, but for others. So exactly what we just mentioned. This was one of my best quotes I ever pulled out.
It's a great quote.
His body is in unbelievable shape. It's pretty impressive to see how quickly he has matured, not just as a player, but as a professional with his approach. He's going to have another great year, if not better. So there you go. So that's Tim Conley.
Yeah.
I think it just really exemplifies everything we just talked about. So I think it's an easy over for me. I think this is clearly like a 50-51 win team. So
that's by the way, that's a great quote for our over. If you have the over, that's a great
quote. I just really like what I've seen with him. And the late stuff has to get better. I think the playmaking late in particular has to really get better. But it's Anthony Edwards. He should.
Yeah, we're banking on the turnovers not being such a big issue late in games, the half-court offense not being such a big issue late in games. I'm going to go over because, again, the quote helped it, but I think there's some close game luck that we just kind of trust them more. I've seen it in the playoffs now 2 years in a row. It's kind of it's not fair, but the regular season, they've had some big issues late in games where the shot clock's getting dark. It's like, who's taking the shot here? It's like they double ant. It's like, who else is there's too much back to the basket Randall stuff for our liking. I think they'll figure it out. I think David has a much better year, and they go over.
We're on the home stretch here. Let's start with Houston, 53.5. This line felt a little too much at initial thought, but we'll go through it. Their starting lineup, your new point guard, it says here Aaron Holiday. I think by all accounts, eventually it has to be Reed Shepherd. It has
eventually, yeah, but I think initially,
and initially Aaron probably makes the most sense, just as a
veteran. Oh, really? Presence. You don't think Amen Thompson's going to be the starting point guard?
No, because I think he's going to be a starting 2, but I think he's going to have the ball. I don't think they really have another 2 unless they play Amen and Reed at the same time. Either way, I think we're going to get some combination of 2 of these 3 guys.
Okay.
So Holiday and Thompson initially in the backcourt, probably Reed inserts himself in place of Holiday. Who has the ball handling responsibilities? It's probably going to be Amen, but again, we'll see. Kevin Durant comes in. That's the big name. Our guy Bari, and then Sengun coming off allegedly an amazing summer in Eurobasket. We watched none of it. We heard great things. I saw some clips. He was apparently dominant for Turkey. The depth, Tari Eason, the most underrated injury guy in the entire league. That guy can't stay healthy for whatever reason. Clint Capella and Steven Adams are still around, as is Uncle Jeff Green. Jay Sean Tate, just still in a Houston uniform. And Josh Okogie. The depth on this team.
Well, you didn't mention the biggest depth piece that they got, which is Dorian Finney-Smith. That's the big.
He's hurt to start, but we'll see. Yeah, of course, we'll see him eventually. And then Fred VanVleet, of course, is done. So there goes that. But with Finney-Smith out for a little while and VanVleet done, the depth all of a sudden looks a little shaky. It looks a little shaky for sure. Yeah. Potentially, just kind of dribbling the ball around. Like Amen Thompson, I don't know. We really like him. We like him a lot as the primary point guard. I don't know if he's ready for that one.
No.
I don't know. Aaron Holiday, man, could you do better? And then Reed Shepherd looked terrible. I don't know if you know this. I think we talked about this a few times over text. Reed Shepherd was like lighting up the G League in like comical ways. He was dropping like 60 in the G last year. Like it was ridiculous. Every time he was there, he was scoring like an efficient like 35, 40 points every single time. But when he got to the NBA, it just seemed like the game was too fast for him. I remember a particular game against the Clippers. It was like a showcase game for him. He looked terrible. I just don't know what to expect from him because it's another guy I really liked in Kentucky. I think really highly of him. I think he can just be a lighted up scorer from beyond the arc and really play above his height because he is a smaller statured player. But again, Amen Thompson in the same backcourt on a team with Kevin Durant and Jabari Smith, that doesn't really matter anymore. I think they can really supplement that as well as you can. I think I'm leaning the under. I think this total is just a smidge too much. I like this team. It's another team. I'm going to say it again, Mike. Outside of Kevin Durant, who's putting the ball in the basket, who's setting up anyone to put the ball in the basket. Sengun, if he can take that next step from kind of this fringe all-star level guy to like a top 25 guy in the league, then you have something, and then you can kind of supplement it with Amen Thompson knifing to the basket, maybe Reed Shepherd being a guy. But right now, it's too high of a line for a team that just lacks a second scorer.
Yeah. By the way, that's what they lacked last year. They couldn't put the ball in the basket. That's why they needed a guy like Kevin Durant.
They got Kevin Durant, which is a big deal. But when you lose Fred VanVleet and you don't really add anything else, which I think we were surprised about, they have the ammo to do so. They have another trade to make for a high-end star. I think this is a really clear high-end star destination spot if they want to move off Bari, Eason, Reed, two or three of those guys.
They can.
Then you can get a high-end, player to put next to Durant, put next to Thompson. Theoretically, Van Vliet comes back, whatever. Then you have something there. Dorian Finney-Smith comes in. It's just right now they just don't have enough, right? Like this is a fun team on paper, but it's just getting overhyped in my opinion.
Yeah. By the way, Malcolm Brogdon just retired for whatever that's worth. But he's not on the
nothing,
market.
By the way.
No, nothing. But nonetheless, I think that they're first of all, they're offensive rebounding demons. They get second, third, and fourth opportunities to score. So like a little bit like the Knicks of 3 years ago. It's just like maybe they can't put the ball in the basket in half court, but they'll get a lot of cracks with the apple. They'll get a lot of chances there. And I think maybe they won't have to be as. I mean, again, I don't think they'll be as inefficient as they were last year because they got a guy in Kevin Durant who's such an efficient half court scorer who can put the ball in the basket, and he's just a bucket getter, so they need that. But outside of that, without Fred VanVleet, I mean, the ball's going to be in the hands of Amen Thompson's hands a lot more, which, I mean, is probably good for his overall development, but I don't know if I like it necessarily as far as, like, is this team going to go over or not? Probably a lot of, I mean, obviously Reed Shepherd will have a bigger role. That's a big thing for sure. And we need to see Reed Shepherd have they drafted a number 2 or 3 overall, I believe, in the draft, and albeit a weak draft a few years ago, but they drafted him, I believe, in the top 3. So yeah, we'll need to see a lot out of him. Again, they lose Dylan Brooks, they lose Jalen Green, they bring in Dorian Finney-Smith, Clint Capella, Kevin Durant. So I like the moves they made. And on paper, the depth was going to be really good, but now you lose Van Vliet. It's like everyone has to step up a role. And we mentioned this in the podcast a couple weeks ago whenever we were saying Van Vliet got injured. Who's going to be like stepping up in this role? It's like, I don't know if they really have the horses right away. Like we haven't seen Amen Thompson or Reed Shepherd in a playoff series do anything worth anything. So it's like, it's very, again, this is all regular season numbers, but
does it feel like this to you? It's just, it's such a projection of these guys in the future.
Sure.
But a current line, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like you're projecting Amen Thompson is going to be an elite guy. I agree. Sure. That could be 2 or 3 years from now. He's still so young. Reed Shepherd could be an impact guy. That could be 3 years from now. I don't know. And they're just kind of baking that into the line. Like 53 wins is crazy to me. Like, Mike, is this team that far away from San Antonio, whose line was 44.5? That it's almost a 10-win difference between this team and San Antonio?
No.
It just doesn't feel right at all.
It's probably not right at all. And ultimately, I don't think that I can trust them to win 54 games. I mean, say Kevin Durant, which, by the way, he does every year. Say he gets injured for about 3 weeks, around the All-Star break, which he almost
if not more,
If not more, yeah. He usually misses about 3 weeks due to some kind of, whatever, calf, whatever. And he has to go down and miss close to a month, close to the All-Star break. Usually always happens. His teams never usually do well whenever he misses games. Does Houston have the guys that can kind of fill in scoring-wise when Durant goes down? I don't think they can. So I don't think they can really withstand a possible 2 to 3 week Durant, timeline if he doesn't play, which again, he's another old guy. We talked about with the Warriors. We mentioned it with the Lakers and the Clippers, like these older guys who are kind of on the end of their career. We still obviously have a lot of respect for these players, but if they are to miss time, which they almost always seem to do, at least a little bit of time in the regular season, this would overall hurt that number. So 54 wins is a lot of wins to get. I don't think I can trust them to do it. I love the offensive rebounding aspect of this team. I love that paired with Kevin Durant, but ultimately I don't think that the ball handling is where I'm really lacking here. Who's setting everything up offensively? Like how is this offense getting set up? I almost feel like it's like the Magic if the Magic had Kevin Durant, which in that case would be but like it's like who is setting up any offense with this team? I can't really trust it in a half court sense. I mean, you're banking on Kevin Durant having a really efficient season, and he's really good and really engaged. So, and even then, I think that they could still go under the number. Like he can do all those things, and they can still win 53 games, which would be going under. I mean, 53-29 is a good record, but this is a big number. It's just a very high number for a team that's without Fred VanVleet for the entire season. It's like, is that baked in? It doesn't feel like it's baked in at all.
No, none of it's baked in. This line makes no sense. If this line was closer to Golden State's, I would have no problem with it. The fact, again, San Antonio's over-under was 44.5. Golden State was 46.5. They are far closer to those teams
Whoa.
than the next team that we're about to mention right now. It
By
makes
the way-
no sense.
By the way, Minnesota's 49.5. Why is Houston not 49.5? I don't think.
Why is it 4 wins better than that?
I don't understand.
I think Minnesota is clearly better than Houston. I don't think there's much argument about that.
That's what it's very strange. And I love the
Yeah.
Houston roster, but I have to go under here. It's important. It's just too big of a number.
Yeah, it's way too big. It doesn't make sense, and we'll get clowned for that if they somehow eclipse it.
Sure.
Whatever, it's fine. Let's move on to a team that we both love, the Denver Nuggets, who seemingly reloaded this offseason. I'm excited for it. They're starting 5, Jamal Murray, Christian Brown, Cam Johnson, the heist of the offseason.
It happened.
Aaron Gordon, and then, of course, Big Jokic at the 5. The depth is there again.
Yeah.
It's Bruce Brown. It's Julian Strother. Tim Hardaway Jr. comes over, who had a really good season with Detroit last year. Peyton Watson's still around. And then Jonas Valanciunas to finally provide some semblance of depth at center. Infinitely better than DeAndre Jordan. Whatever you think of Jonas Valanciunas, he just clears DeAndre Jordan. And then deeper, you have like Hunter Tyson, your guy, Jalen Pickett, Zeke Naji. There's something
Peyton
there.
Watson, Peyton Watson, there's the guy there.
Yeah, I mentioned him. He's still around, but, whatever you want to make of it.
Sure.
I'm just going to keep this quick. Lock over. This is easy for me. I don't, this line is disrespectful in my opinion. I think this is a really deep West, but I think there's 2 teams that clearly levitate above everyone else. And we just talked about how Houston, maybe with Fred VanVleet, could have been a bit of a different style of team. Losing him, that's an issue. And then Minnesota, they're a great regular season team, but again, they're not like this supernova or anything.
No.
But then you have the Lakers, Clippers, Warriors, big injury risks. Even Dallas, like we don't know what to make of Denver, San Antonio. I know what to make of Denver. Denver's going to beat these lesser teams consistently enough where they're going to win 55, 56 games, in my opinion. This is an easy over for me. I'm not even going to waste much time on it because it's obvious. Jokic is the best player in the world. It's not close. I love SGA. I really do. And we'll talk about him in a second. But it's Jokic. It's not close. If Gordon's healthy, that is probably the most fun front court in the league as far as just like Jokic is the best player in the world and Gordon is just a perfect Swiss Army knife to be his sidekick. And then Murray seemingly is healthy and is in better shape, so I'm excited to see him. He does look good. He looks in great shape after the weird stuff last season. Coming off the Canada disaster where he was just awful in the Olympics. He was awful to start the season. I think he's kind of refocused now. Cam Johnson, immediate upgrade in the middle of this roster. And then Tim Hardaway Jr. is probably the best bench scorer they've had in
years.
4 or 5 years. Like, it's been a while. It's been a while. And then, like I said, Valanciunas, there's just not much to say. It's a lock over.
I love this team. Absolutely love this Denver Nuggets team. They're the team that is going to make my quad box every single night. I have to watch Jokic play. This is probably his best roster. It's easily his best roster since the championship team. First of all, they get that.
Do you think it's better than the championship team roster?
On paper, I think it is.
I agree. On paper, I think it is. And now, compared to the rest of the league, that's a different story because the team we're about to talk to, it's different. But on paper, this is his best roster, and I don't think it's that close. I really think this is that much better than the championship roster.
Well, right. Here's the thing. During that championship roster, they had multiple point-of-attack defenders that they can throw at guys. They had Bruce Brown. They had Aaron Gordon a few years ago. They had Christian Brown as a rookie. They had other guys that you can throw at. Bruce Brown is...
Yeah, I think Gordon's just as good as he was then. I think Brown's better than he was then. I expect Bruce Brown to be...
And you have
maybe not as good, but 80%, 90%. So that's why I think there's no way you can say it's worse. And then you insert Tim Hardaway, you insert Valanciunas. It has to be better. There's no way around it.
They also had KCP in that championship run, and he was a solid defender during that time. Now they have, obviously... Now, if you were to pick 3 guys out of a hat to leave this Nuggets team last year, it would probably be Michael Porter Jr., Dario Saric, and Russell Westbrook. Those 3 guys are no longer here. That's good news for Denver.
They really good news.
That's really good news. Even better news, they get Cam Johnson, who's probably much more engaged defensively than Michael Porter Jr. will be. You get Bruce Brown.
Low bar.
Back. That's a very low bar, of course. Yeah, but they get him.
And I think Cam Johnson will respect playing on a serious team because I think on Phoenix he was a really effort-based defender. Yes. Went away a little bit in Brooklyn, but again, it's Brooklyn. What do you expect? I think now he's playing with Gordon and Jokic and Brown. And Murray tries. He's not good, but he tries.
But they have multiple bodies now to throw at guys, which they didn't really have. I mean, last year, once Bruce Brown left, it was like, hey, Christian Brown, you're our new, one of our focal point of attack defenders, which, again, in that role, maybe it's different. I like Christian Brown. I think you like Christian Brown, but now now we have more options that we can use. Tim Hardaway off the bench. They get DeJuan Holmes back, their first-round pick out of Dayton a year ago that was injured all last year. So they have another first-round pick they can kind of just plop into the rotation if they want. And obviously, Jonas Valanciunas is the big one here. They get an actual backup center to Jokic. Even in that title run, it was DeAndre Ayton with like 5 or 6 minutes a game, just kind of in to kind of waste fouls on guys. I mean, it was just they were just using DeAndre Ayton to kind of use up fouls. And now it's like if Jokic gets in foul trouble, you can at least give Valanciunas like 8 minutes a half. You can play him. You can play him.
He at least won't be such a disaster that it's actually offensive. Like when they had to put in anyone else, whether it was Peyton Watson at the 5, which he can't play, which we've done that experiment so many times, it doesn't work. Or if it was DJ, whoever it was, it never worked. And Valanciunas isn't great, but he can at least like keep the boat from capsizing. You know?
No, I'm with you. So that's what I'm saying. Like they now have a plan. If Jokic goes out for 5 minutes, they don't completely fall apart offensively. They don't completely evaporate where it's like literally offensive. Jamal Murray had a weird start to last year off the Canada thing. He looks much better this year. He looks the best he has since that championship team, which he was on. I think it overall has to do with the fact that they're now playing on a team. Like last year, they took OKC to 7 games, and the roster was kind of wonky. We loved watching Denver, make no mistake about it, but the roster didn't really make much sense. It was like, we kind of need this offensive scoring from Russ off the bench because we have no offensive scoring threat off the bench. So we kind of need Russ to do his thing for like 12 minutes in a stint, whatever. Now you have Tim Hardaway Jr. in that lesser role as a bench piece. David Adelman now steps in as the interim tag is ripped off David Adelman. He is now the overall head coach of the team. They got rid of the cloud over their head, which is like the Michael Malone, Calvin Booth situation. So they're devoid of that. So they've moved free past that. It feels like they are now like they're in looking in the rearview mirror. They now have a clear path to being back into title contenders because they were title contenders last 2 years, but they fell short in Game 7 of Round 2, which was like as close as you can get to not winning the title. Basically, it's Round 7 of Game 2. OKC went on to win the finals, so they ran into the finals team and they lost in 7 games, and they nearly won that Game 5 off of that ridiculous Jokic game. So they were close last year, and they just completely improved their roster. I mean, now
the fact they were close was kind of unbelievable.
It's
in my
crazy
opinion.
to think that they could have went home in round 1 to the Clippers, and they were able to win that game. And they didn't have the defensive horses to even match up with the Clippers. I mean, we mentioned the Clippers series. It's like, hey, Harden's have an unbelievable offensive year. Kawhi, Zubac, like they had all NBA players. The Clippers had. It's like, how can Denver stop them? Denver was bad defensively last year, and they still got past the Clippers and nearly beat the Thunder, who were like the best defensive team in like the last 10 years. So Denver this is the pros of having the best player in basketball. It's like, just surround him with like competent pieces, which they now have competent pieces. On paper, this roster is like really good. And you already had the best player in baseball, in basketball, rather. I'm thinking about
Are you locking this?
I am locking it. Yeah, it's 53.5. It's just
I figured.
too low. It's too low. Yeah. So ultimately, the reason why I'm locking it is because I think the defense will be much better than it was last year. The defense was kind of offensively bad last year. There was some lapses where it's Porter, whether it's Russ.
It was mostly Porter and Russ. And Russ, the late game stuff with Russ was as bad as ever. It was the same deal. He did the same thing he did at every team he goes to. He had a good 6 to 8 weeks where people were like, "Oh my god, I can't believe we have Russell Westbrook." And then there was times where late in games, somehow, some way, he'd end up with the ball on a team with Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray, and even Michael Porter Jr., who I at least trust to make a shot when his shoulder's not falling off, which it was in the playoffs.
It was in the playoffs, yeah.
Which was a whole nother thing that you didn't even bring up. The fact they went 7 games with half their team being hurt. Gordon was super hurt.
Porter had a hamstring, of course. Yeah.
But Porter's shoulder literally looked like it was out of its socket at times. It was ridiculous. So regardless, if you just cut out some of the injuries late in the season, if you cut out Russell Westbrook, who genuinely was a cancer late in games for this team, but they had to play him because they didn't have enough guys. And now they have plenty of guys to mix and match. You can throw in a guy like Hardaway there if you need a shot light. He somehow makes big shots. He's a good shooter. You can toss in kind of anyone on this team to just kind of go in. If you need to stop, you can toss in Bruce Brown. There's a lot of mix and matching that they can do that I really like. Yeah.
By the way,
they didn't have last year.
By the way, remember that Russ game against the Timberwolves where he kind of lost?
How could I forget it? It's probably my favorite regular season game of the last 10 years. Yeah.
Easily. If they win that game, they're on the opposite side of the bracket. They don't have to even face OKC until now. Do they beat OKC in a deeper series? Maybe not, because at that point, maybe Aaron Gordon's hamstring is even worse in the conference finals. Maybe Porter Jr.'s shoulder is even worse in the conference finals. But they wouldn't have even had to face OKC in round 2. They would have had to face a grueling 7-game series against the Clippers. So they had the murderer's row path last year, and they didn't have to. They faltered down the stretch because of the late game rust stuff, and they fell into the 4 seed, which is ended up taking them to the Clippers series and then the Thunder series. They could have been on the easier side of the bracket with Golden State in round 2. They could have had an easier path to the conference finals. I think they get the 2 seed with flying colors this year. I think they're going to be able to easily get over 53.5. This is a lot for me. They got
Between
off
that and the double bang game, those are like by
double
far
bang
the
game
two best regular season games. You can do the
easily in
Cavs
the last 10 years. Yeah.
Warriors Christmas Day game. There's a few, but it's in the rarefied air. And you mentioned this
Unbelievable.
team like 5 times, and they were half of the double bang game. The Oklahoma City Thunder, just to close this out, because we're not going to waste any time here. It's the same exact team. It's the same starting five. It's SGA, it's Lou Dort, it's J Dub, it's Chet, it's Hartenstein. The depth's the same. Kason Wallace, Isaiah Joe, Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, Jay Will. The only difference is, I guess in theory, they maybe got a little bit better because I know he's going to miss the first month, but Nikola Jokic, my guy, he's back. And he should be playing, I'd assume, by November. So I'm excited to see what he looks like. And that's kind of it. We thought maybe we get something with Thomas Server. He obviously got hurt, so he's done. Maybe you'll see a little more of a guy like Ousmane Deng. I think Kenrich Williams was a weird lightning rod
Uncle
for them
Kenny.
at times.
Uncle Kenny, yeah.
Maybe one of those guys ascends. It seemed like AJ Mitchell was a guy they were trying to get going. Didn't really seem like much.
No.
We're not going to waste time here. Look, the only thing I'll say is this. For as dominant of a team as they were, the two playoff series they struggled with were super concerning, wasn't it? Like, the fact they went 7 with the injury-riddled Nuggets was weird to me. And then they discarded the Timberwolves, who were just a bad matchup, and Randall was about as bad as you could be, and Ant wasn't much better either, to be honest. So that was quick. But even 7 in the finals, I think I had that series going like 5, and it probably should have, and they collapsed multiple times. It was there's some weird stuff swirling around this team that's not like injury or cap related like it was with the Celtics last year. I think everyone saw the Celtics downside of like, okay, they're obviously going to be awesome, but the injuries, the cap situation of like they don't want to go over the double apron. This is going to get weird. It got weird. That inevitably happened, and then their probably most important defensive piece, Kristaps Porzingis, just weirdly kind of had the weirdest illness ever and was awful, and they couldn't really figure out how else to play the Knicks without him. So that was their issue. Here, I don't think Oklahoma City has that much of a concern, but I guess your issue would be if Chet goes down, then all of a sudden your awesome depth looks a lot less awesome. Yeah. How do you fill that role? I guess. But again, I guess you just have enough because you have SGA, you have J-Dub. It's just, look, there's no way around it. It's a very slight over because 62.5 is a monster line.
It's a huge number.
I don't even know if I mentioned that. The line is 62.5. That is a monster line. I'm going to ever so slightly lean over. They're going to win like 63 games, whatever. I just won't take the under here.
I've never been so easy over on a 62.5 line. It's an unbelievably huge line. And I still immediately said, it's over. Like, it's a lot of wins. I just don't really care. Like, I genuinely think that they're 70 win good. I'm not going to win 70 games, but I think that they could realistically.
They won 68 last year, by the way. So this is considering that they're going to get like substantially worse.
Yeah, by the way, the first month and a half of the season, they didn't really have Chet and Hartenstein together. They were like,
that was the whole thing. They were mixing and matching. There was concerns about who was going to play the 5 when Hartenstein was healthy, and then Chet goes. It was a whole issue with working those guys in. Now they know their roles, and Caruso knows his role. He was also trying to kind of figure stuff out immediately. So unless. I guess the only logical thing is SGA takes a step back, I guess, and no one's going to foresee that. Again, because he's just the most efficient superstar we've had since LeBron, and he's a guard, so it's kind of ridiculous. Most efficient guard since probably 06 D Wade, around that time. So I guess the logical thing is like, okay, you just can't be this efficient the entire time, I guess. But I'm the biggest SGA guy of anyone. You can find a TikTok clip of me 5 years ago hyping him up. Like, this has been my guy the entire time. It's the most vindicated I've ever been on any athlete in my lifetime. I'm not going to go against them. It's an over.
I comped the 2025 Thunder to the 2015 Warriors a lot. During their playoff run, Golden State won 60 games in 2015. Oklahoma City won 60 games in 2015. Steph Curry won his first MVP in 2015. SGA won his first MVP in 2015. 2015. So it was 10 years apart. They both won their first MVPs. They're both guards. In that round 2, they were both down 2-1. Remember, Golden State was down 2-1 to Memphis in round 2 that year. The Tony Allen Grizzlies, they came back to win that series in 6. OKC was down 2-1 to Denver, came back and won the series in 7. They both gentlemen swept their conference finals teams, that 2-seed Rockets that kind of got there with Dwight Howard and James Harden. Remember, Golden State basically gentlemen swept them. It was 4-1. OKC, same thing. 4-1 over Minnesota. They both get to the finals, and they're both down 2-1 to the Pacers, who were injured, In the 2015, it was the Cavs who were injured. It was like Dellavedova running around, and Golden State was down 2-1 in that series, if people remember. And same thing with Oklahoma City. They were a 60-win team that's down 2-1 in the finals. They both come back and win that series. Golden State didn't even get to a game 7 in either of those series, though. The Memphis one, they won in 6, and then Cleveland won.
And the Thunder won in 7. Halliburton goes down, so it'll be forever tainted.
Of course,
I mean, we all would have had them winning anyway.
Yeah, we would have. Yeah,
I mean, the game was close. It's not like it was a foregone conclusion.
But there's a lot of similarities to this team and the 2015 Warriors, basically. And remember, that Warriors team, I'm not saying the Thunder are going to win 73 games, but remember the following year, the Warriors, it's like we won the title, and now it's like it's the same team. We're just going to get even better. And they won, I think they went from 63 wins to 73 wins. I believe that they were a 60-win team in the 2015 season. Then they won like 10 or 11 more games and went to 73-9. I'm not saying OKC is going to go 73-9, but I think 70 wins is on the table. It's plus 680 on FanDuel. Our guy Bill mentioned it last night. I was only able to watch the first 15 minutes of that episode, but he mentioned that 70 wins is plus 680. There's some value there. I mean, how many games are they going to be underdogs in? Like road at Denver?
I wouldn't go 7. I think there's the modern NBA and how deep the West is and how volatile it is. I wouldn't do it, but sure. I think they're clearly outside of Denver. I think Denver could beat them in a 7-game series. I don't know if they could, but I think. Well, I don't know if they will, but I think they could. We'll put it like that. Sure. Outside of Denver, Houston we're out on. Minnesota we like. I don't think they really sniff OKC. Mm. And then beyond that, it's like San Antonio, they're not close. Dallas, they're not close. It's like, so in a way, you're right. As deep as this conference is, there's still clearly 2 teams levitating above everyone else.
They're going to be massive favorites over everyone on a given night if all their stars are playing. So that's what I'm saying. Like in the East, by the way, they went 29-1 against the East last year. They can easily do that again.
I don't think that'll happen. 29-1 is ridiculous. Obviously, I don't.
By the way, the Eastern Conference this year doesn't have Halliburton or Tatum.
I know. I just think it's one of those things where you trip up a few times. But they could be better in the West. They could be better in the West.
Sure.
You know? I just 29-1. Come on, that's asking for a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, but I mean, outside of Cleveland and New York, who are they going to be underdogs against in a given random game? I don't know. One. That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't pick them against any of these teams.
Boston with Jason Tatum's miraculous healing in March.
Exactly, in March. Sure. Okay, that's fine. But overall, it's an easy over for me. It's a slight over for you. I think they can get to 63 wins relatively easily.
It's just it's such a big line. Like
it's always a huge
SG
line.
is hurt for 2 weeks. That impacts the line.
Okay,
whatever it is, it's just such a tough line. But we're gonna go through this. Stop me if there's anything that you want to change, because I'm sure we're gonna change something with this West here. So let's start here. Utah Jazz, an under for both of us. Not a surprise whatsoever. New Orleans, you had the over. I had the under. I flirted with the lock. I didn't put it on.
I'm sticking with my over. Yeah.
You took a slight over. I locked the under on Phoenix. Probably my favorite lock of the entire 2 episodes we did. I will be betting that when we get off.
Okay. I'm sticking with my over, by the way. I'm sticking with the Suns over. I don't know.
Portland, you locked the over.
I did.
I flirted with it. I took the over reluctantly. Yeah. Sacramento. We both took the under, which is kind of tough, but again, it's one of those things where I guess, I guess. Memphis, I am changing my over to an under, which means I have a ton of unders, but when you have a team that's going to win like 68 games like Oklahoma City, and you have a team like Denver who I think can win 58, then you're going to have some bottom feeder unders. So I feel decent about it there. So that over is now an under. You had the under. Are you keeping that? Because you were reluctant there.
If I keep it, I have 7 unders and 8 overs. So I mean, I could keep it, or I could flip and go over and have 9 overs in the conference.
I haven't even checked that for myself. I'm just gonna hope I did it decently close.
I had the no, my bad. I had the Clippers under. So if I have I already have 7 unders. So I think I'm gonna go. If I go over on Memphis, I have 8 overs, so I could do over on 8.
As long as you're like 7 and 8. Hold on, let me go through this real quick. This is bad, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I have 9 under. So you know what? I'm gonna keep the Memphis over just to make it a. I mean, yeah, you got to make it probably 7 and 8. So I'll keep the over there.
By the way, I'm short 6 wins. I did this last night. I actually did everyone's predictions. So I'm short 6 wins here as far as the possible amount of wins someone can get. So maybe I just give all 6 of those wins to OKC and get them to 70 wins. Maybe. I don't know how to do that.
That's kind of the easy thing to do, right? It's like, here you go, Oklahoma City. Give like maybe 1 to Denver, and then there you go.
I might give 1 to Denver. So I had OKC at 64 wins. Maybe I just give them 5 wins, give them 69 wins, and then I give Denver an extra win. But I'm short 6 wins. So some of these teams that I have under are going to go over. It's probably the Eastern Conference where I took everyone's under. and someone's going to go over probably. But I'm going to stick with Memphis. I'll go Memphis over. So I have 8 overs and 7 unders. I'll go Memphis over. Over 40.5. They can get to 41 wins. Come on, Josh.
Okay, so we agree there. So we agree a lot more than we thought we would.
Really? I think
especially now, because Dallas, you have the lock over.
Yep.
I flirted with it. I took the regular over. We do disagree here with the Spurs. You took the ever so slightly under.
Just barely.
I took the over. Here's the agree fest. Golden State, we both had under.
The California teams, yeah.
The Clippers, we both had under. The Lakers, we both had under.
Yep.
Minnesota, we both had over.
Not changing
Houston,
that.
we both had under. Denver, we both had over. We both had locks on Denver
that's right. You locked
over. Yep. And Oklahoma City, we both had the over. We agreed almost the entire pod, and you thought that we really did, Mike. The last 8 teams we agreed on. I know it might not seem like that because of how we got there.
Okay, that's fair.
I might have used some harsher language like I tend to than you.
The Grizzlies, okay, yeah. So the Spurs we disagree on, the Suns and the Pelicans we disagree on.
But even the Spurs we disagree on by a game. You like the Spurs. It's not like you dislike them. You know,
I like them a lot actually. I think the numbers.
The only team we really adamantly disagree on is New Orleans. If you think about it.
New Orleans. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, because I think. Yeah, the Spurs at 44.5. I like their team a lot. It's just they have 4 more wins than Dallas, which I didn't necessarily agree with. And I think it ultimately just comes down to Wembanyama's health. I could easily regret the Spurs one. If they go over, I'm gonna say, hey, my bad. But I'm gonna have to go unders because I can't go 9 overs and 6 unders. Although maybe I could do Memphis under and switch it with San Antonio. I'm gonna stick with Memphis over. I think 40. They can get to 41 wins. I trust Tomas Isolos to get to 41 wins for Memphis.
I'm not surprised we agreed this much. I think it was bound to happen eventually on one of these pods. Mike, any final words about the West?
About the West, I'm really interested to see who the actual tanking teams are in the West because I think that everyone besides Utah thinks they're good. New Orleans and Sacramento are going for it, whatever that means. They're going for it. I'm not so sure they're going to be in the play-in, but they're going for it. Portland's fun. The Phoenix Suns, I don't know what they're going to be, but I'm interested to see how it happens. Devin Booker, same thing. And then the California teams. I mean, the Lakers, Clippers, and Warriors, we all agreed on, but I think the Vegas people like these teams a lot because they have, the LeBrons, the Lucas, the Stephs, the Jimmys, the Kawhi.
Yeah, they get a lot of action on it. It makes sense.
Right. So I want to see those teams. Obviously, those are the big markets. I want to see the California teams, how they do. And then obviously, my 101 is Denver. I'm going to be watching Denver religiously. This year, Minnesota and OKC are my 3 darlings, and then Houston's really interesting. So I mean, the whole conference is really, really interesting. I can't miss a single Western Conference game. Besides, I don't have to watch every Grizzlies game, but I mean, I need to watch a lot of this Western Conference. It's gonna be really fun.
And I believe recent history suggests one of these top 6, 7 teams is gonna be the bottom of the conference.
Yeah,
that's just usually how it goes. Yep. Whether it's injury, whether it's a combination of poor start and then injury, whatever it is, it's just kind of been what's going on in the West in particular. So
yeah, 100%.
I wouldn't be shocked if one of Golden State, the Clippers, or Lakers somehow, somewhere are a lottery team.
Yeah, the bottom falls
it wouldn't really surprise me at all.
Somebody has to in the Western Conference. Remember, 23 it was the Grizz, or 24 it was the Grizzlies who had an awful year, and then last year it was New Orleans going from the playoffs to the second worst team in the conference. So someone's going to be going from a playoff team in the West last year to really, really bad in the lottery. I don't know who it's going to be, but I'm going to take under on all the California teams, and maybe it'll be one of those 3 teams.
So, Mike, there is now over 4 hours of content on both the East and the West overs provided by us, the Gurus. So make sure you guys kind of, get your teeth into that, and it'll be really exciting with the season right around the corner. We will be back next week with a far shorter awards podcast that will not take nearly as long, and then I'd imagine football will be on the docket. We decided yesterday we will be reacting to opening day, so I'm excited about that. Maybe we can do the official opening day, which is when the season actually starts, and then the next one when there's more teams play. So that'll be fun. We'll probably be doing a weekly basketball pod eventually as well once football ends. That will be football at first. We'll do the Bill Simmons method. So there'll be more gurus than ever in the next few weeks. Do not worry about that. Tomorrow, the Survivor pod will be out. We somehow went long on that last week. I don't know how. Tonight should be better. I don't even know. There's just so much content with the Gurus right now. Yeah. It's out of control. We're waiting for the podcast deal to come on our laps. It'll happen. But for now, we're just giving you these content for free all the time hours at a time. Mike, we're just doing the people a service.
We're putting in work right now. I mean, it is what it is. We're doing tribe swap recaps. We're doing everything for the East-West breakdowns. We still got the NFL coming up, so we're doing everything right now. We're flying.
Yeah, and I'm looking at doing some more like independent YouTube videos as well, making some videos. I pitched to Mike. I'm going to do a Big Brother returning season, so that'll be fun, like a second chance kind of deal. I was thinking of doing one potentially on the Celtics as well. My Celtics, how their season's going to shape up, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what they're trying to do and what might actually happen. Those are two different things, obviously.
Yeah.
But so there's a lot in the pipe. But I'm excited for the rest of this basketball season. Football season's getting hot. Who knows if the Blue Jays make a miraculous comeback? Baseball might somehow make the show.
Might sneak in.
It might sneak in.
We'll need a
Hopefully,
miracle.
for your sake. I'm rooting for them. I have no reason
It doesn't
not
look
to.
good.
So.
It doesn't look good right now. It doesn't.
It looks rather rough, but yeah. Anyway, check Mike's stuff out. He's been doing some great work on Dolphins Country as well. I listened to his pod today talking about the fins. It was a good making breakfast. Yeah. I was laughing the whole time because I knew it was just gonna be a dump session, and I did enjoy it as a Patriots fan.
By the way, there's
no positives whatsoever. No. And of course, that is Mike. You can catch him, Dolphins Country, all that stuff. I'm X, Gurus, still leading busted coverage. Who knows? Maybe one day we'll get that whole thing back up and going. But right now, X versus everything, and the Gurus are just taking over. So make sure you like and subscribe, do all that fun stuff, and we will see you next time.